Alright, we're going live one more time.
Welcome to Tabletop Topics. I'm your host, Jeff. Come on, man.
And of course, Jeff.
Come on, man.
Guys, if you want to catch our ugly mugs and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and now YouTube Music. We also have our Triple T's Clips channel and our TikTok channel. So if you click on the link, it'll take you directly to the episode. And of course, you can navigate throughout. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And of course, ooh, damn. This set me off.
It just left the brain.
It just left. Guys, and of course, thank you again for joining us at the tabletop. Let's jump right into it.
He looks at Jeff for like, oh,
fuck.
I ain't sweat this much in my life, bro.
Oh, dude, nothing. That's probably because you're wearing a bonnet on your head.
This man called it a bonnet. Now I gotta take it off. This man called it a bonnet. That's tough.
Oh, shit.
All right.
So before we did the whole fuckery,
I want the same energy. No.
The trifecta has happened.
Is it really a trifecta? There's four of us.
Bro, you making it up? No. The quadrupta has happened. Jimmie and David have finally come together.
Jimmie and David have finally made it to the table.
Yep. Let's make this happen.
This is the battle of ideologies, man.
Yeah, let's see where it heads off. Are we gonna ask the question again, or are we just gonna?
Yeah, let's ask the question again. So, I do know we were talking behind the scenes about you two's individual interviews, and you both had certain questions for each other just to kind of dive deeper into your viewpoint on certain aspects of AI, religion, science, conspiracy, and whatnot. So. I wanted to kind of jump in. I know, David, you had a question for Jimmie during his interview of AI and spirituality. Would you like to take the floor, brother?
All right, so I'll just repeat the question again pretty briefly. Basically, I brought up when it came to, I brought up your phone analogy, and then I said that it's like a double-edged sword, so with the good, with the bad. And then I went into saying that the thing that it was created to do, it seems like it's done the opposite.
Well, before, just ask the question that you had said about is it going to help to...
Oh, is AI going to benefit humanity in the long run, or is AI going to bite us at some point?
Yeah, so before we had all this issue, we actually had a discussion, and we said pretty much my answer, and he was going to do his comments right after. And I said, with AI helping out humanity in history, one thing that we can use is always our past. You know what I'm saying? And with our past, as we've learned, for instance, even in science, I'm not going to go too far off topic of what I said in the first part, but we've learned new things with new technology, especially with advancement, especially with science and all the other stuff. And I use my phone as an example. With our phones, we can do a lot of things that we couldn't do before. Back in the days, there was mailman guys that would have to travel across the wars and countries and across the states, whether you're in China, whether you're in America, whether you're in war. You know what I'm saying? Now we can just do a quick text message and get your information across.
Yeah, because it used to take 3 months to get a letter to somebody.
Carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon. Yeah.
Communication was a problem back in the days, and there was always a solution. There was always a solution to our problems. It just was, old age compared to what we're looking at now. You know what I'm saying? And what I was saying was, with our phones, it's solved a lot more physical problems in the physical world, where the things we do now, we don't have to hire a cameraman to take a picture. Remember, phones never had a camera until they put it on them. You know what I'm saying? They just kept on adding more things, adding more apps that does more things. You know what I'm saying? And as time has grown, we've found a way to replace a lot of physical activities with our phones, talking, communicating, texting, and emails. Bank transfers. You don't have to go to a bank to make a cash deposit. You can just wire your, whatever you get
funds,
paid to your bank, and they do it through direct deposit, and you can always access that through your phone. So when it comes to AI, I said that it takes us, instead of it being physical, more a physical luxury, it takes more of a mental luxury. And in terms of problems, and I used the school. I said, in my ideal classroom, if I was a teacher, I want to do entirely things individual, because I know in the real world, it sucks when you're by yourself. Anything you do by yourself is just going to be one battery. You know what I'm saying? But when you add two batteries to anything, you're going to have a much more better power, more energy towards whatever you're trying to power. A thought, an ideal, a problem, a solution. Whatever you're trying to think of, you're going to have a lot more energy when you have more people. That's why you get a mastermind alliance with a mastermind allegiance. That's why Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, all those guys, Henry Ford, they all were together. Rich people tend to be near rich people. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it works. So with AI now, we all know that AI is a collective information that is done by a wide general population, especially with thoughts. It can do science, it can do math, all the stems. You know what I'm saying? Science, technology, engineering, math, science, all of that combined. So when you have a problem that you really can't go through, you don't have to have just another person like, hey, let me call my boy, let me call my professor, let me talk to my teacher, let me find this on YouTube. All of that is in one. So with AI coming out, it's like, it's going to benefit us in the long run as human beings, and it's going to be a stepping stone, because what we have now is just a prototype.
So would you say there's more pros or there's more cons? Because I essentially think that's the question he's asking. Is it going to benefit us or is it going to doom us?
So
like a Terminator.
The answer is it's already more benefits than cons.
Okay.
It's way more pros than cons when it comes to the AI and our technology that we're in now. So that's what I believe. Yeah. And then you was gonna say something. So now that was.
Okay. I'm actually gonna bring up a different thing than last time I brought up.
Okay.
But another fear I have with AI is its ability for mass psychosis on populations. What I mean by that is, do you guys remember when we were told, like, don't believe anything you see on the internet?
Yeah.
Right.
Remember that?
Like
That was,
Wikipedia. and
don't
all
believe
that.
anything you see on
Nothing.
the internet.
Right.
When people, what do people do now?
They believe everything
They
that
believe
they see
everything they see
on the internet. Yeah.
So, what happens when that same thing happens with AI, where we just get so conditioned to it giving us the answer to whatever we want
Put your
that
faith
we
in.
stop doing the due diligence and researching? Is that actually right? Is that actually the true answer? Or are we just going to rely on this thing to tell us what truth is?
Like that TV show on HBO. What's it called?
Raised by wolves.
Raised by Wolves.
And then what happens if, like, let's take COVID for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if the AI does the same thing that our leaders and politicians did, where it says, oh, we need to go into lockdowns, we need to go get all vaccinated. Well, what if you go against that? What if you think that that's a bad idea? Well, now we're all conditioned to the point where we have to believe what the AI says because it hasn't done us wrong this far.
Right.
You know, so that's another concern I have with AI is the fact that
Taking away free thinking.
we will become too dependent on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it will make us less of ourselves, and it will make it. I believe it will be a problem in the future.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
So, I completely understand exactly what you're saying. And I think we already talked about manipulation and
Mhm.
how AI can manipulate you in a scenario. Only in a scenario. However, it's just... How do I say this? You ever heard of the man Darwinism? Darwinism?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me what you think Darwinism was.
Darwinism was the guy who was the father of evolution. Am I correct?
Yeah, and can you give me an example of evolution?
Strongest
Birds?
survival of the fittest. The changing of one being into another being from
And
adapting from your environment
Why would they change?
to adapt to their environment.
So the environment changed.
Both.
The environment was the change, and then the species,
Organism.
The
The
species
environment
adapted.
was the motivation for the
So
change.
the environment changes and the species adapt.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to the species before that, though?
They die out.
They die out.
So that's the fear. So the problem is that not you personally, but your beliefs are going to die.
No, I don't disagree with you with
But
that.
that's
But even if they die, it doesn't make them.
But that's what you said.
But that's where the fear is. Because what if we all stop thinking critically, and the majority of us stop thinking in the way, like, let's say if it is a concern and it is an issue,
Mhm.
like, my fear is exactly what you're saying, that majority of people are going to stop looking at it in the way that I'm looking at it, and they're just going to trust this thing, and it's going to lead them into
Oblivion.
oblivion.
Well, what I'm hearing is that we're going to change. Because
Yes.
what's happening, that's what's causing the change.
Well, wouldn't you say that this
Evolution?
change is manufactured? And this isn't a natural order of things,
Like the evolution.
right? Like
of-
evolution is, of course, like your environment, but like this is coming straight
Man-made.
from us. This is man-made.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not even like out of our own will we choose to change. It's,
But yet we are changing, because before we had a conversation about the status of the world back in the days with our pops and our grandparents.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a lot of war. Do you guys see a lot of war now?
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of physical war where 200,000 people are dying in two
Yeah.
countries?
I see genocides in countries like Libya, Afghanistan, Syria, but we just don't talk about it.
Okay,
It's been.
so
I mean,
have you physically seen it?
have I physically seen it with my eyes in person there? No, but I have seen footage of it.
So 10 seconds ago you said that the internet.
don't
Don't believe everything you
you
see on the internet.
So until you really see it, have you really seen it?
Well, all I can go off is government
The-
documents
what-
and footage. But yes, at the end of the day, I don't know for sure.
It is the internet. So unless you actually go to Libya and actually see what is happening, because you don't know, like you said, there's a possibility that the mass genocides of AI.
Wait,
can
so are
happen.
you saying that wars aren't happening today?
I'm
as
saying
frequently
that
as-
you have to speak on things that you actually see. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good point.
Because back in our days, our pops went to war. They were veterans. There's many veterans that have, and that's what I'm talking about. They've seen death.
They can speak on that experience.
They can speak on the experience and not just say I seen it on the internet, because that's what they've been through. And back in our days, we had people who had to go into the coal mines, and these resources were used for that purpose. You had people who had to, like carrier pigeons. You had to have the carrier pigeon trainer, and you had to have the mailman, and you had to have things that our technology has replaced them. Like back in the days, to get ice for our novelty and our ice creams, there actually had to be a guy that goes to Alaska and Antarctica.
Ice, right.
And there obviously when it comes to change, it's always a big push when it comes to change. Back. It's always a push back when it comes to change. And what happens when you don't change? Look at Kmart. You know, they want to stick to their old ways.
When Dixie is still trying to hang on.
Publix, you know what I'm saying? That's why I brought up Darwinism. It's not the fear itself that you're feeling, it's the change.
But why would you embrace change just because it's change? Why wouldn't you critically think, is this change good or not?
It's not whether it's good or not, because we don't know if it's good or not. Because if you have a terrible event that happens on Earth, radioactive, nuclear, whatever, that's not a good thing. However, guess what? Life still goes on.
Hindsight is 20/20.
And we've been through all that. You got to understand.
But we could have avoided that.
Well, where's the Neanderthals right now?
I mean, I don't think that Neanderthals were a thing, though.
You don't believe in Neanderthals?
No.
Well, that's another topic. You know.
Oh shit!
I mean, there has been different humanoid species than us. You know, they found many skulls that are physical that you can go to a museum.
Yeah, but how can you trust that those skulls are actually real?
Because
they're not just making it up.
Because you have to have a sense of trust in your own fellow humans.
But that's right there. That's
to live
right there. You don't know for sure.
To live okay, so it's actually, I saw this thing on Instagram, like a meme or whatever, and this man asked a question about God and was like, how can you know that he's done this and he's done that? And the man came back, well, he said, listen, man, if you live in a world where you don't trust nobody, how do you know whoever created that vape that you're smoking put the right amount of chemicals?
Well, I'm not saying I don't trust anybody, but I have a big trust issue when it comes to, what's the specific term for them? Archaeologists and the institutions that have to deal with archaeology, especially the Smithsonian. There's plenty of evidence of them actually manipulating and lying about historical facts and historical evidence that they've been exposed later in history for doing. Like, to give you an example, when you go into a museum, all the bones that you see of the dinosaurs, none of that's real. All of the dinosaur bones are in the back, where nobody can actually go and check and look to see.
Because if they steal them, then they can sell them on.
And that's not. And I don't think that they're doing a bad thing by doing that. They're giving you a model. But
why can't anybody go in there and check and see and verify? No independent researcher can go back there.
Well, then...
Why, that's strange.
Well, I would have to look at that and look at the details on that, but I'm sure there's a reason why. You know what
would be the reason that makes sense, though?
Maybe it's because they have to be vetted. Maybe they have to be...
for what?
For research purposes. In order to... For instance, if you want to maybe go to college and get extensive degrees and document to show to somebody that you are experienced and an expert to... look at bones and stuff like that.
But do you see how it's a little bit strange how only a select group of people can observe and dictate whether these things are real or not, and just all like the rest of us have to just listen to them and just trust what they're saying?
Well,
when we can easily research and we have brains just like they do, we can tell if this thing is real or not.
Well, it's because only a select few people have a distrust in it. You know what I'm saying? Most of them...
But I would say that distrust is warranted because of good reason.
Well, a majority of the people will trust what the archaeologists, not only just the ones that's inside of the museums present, but the ones who actually went out there in the field and dug up, and the ones that actually went out there in the field and studied. Because it's not just one generation. They probably had those bones for a long time. They probably had those bones conditioned. You don't know the struggle. You know what I'm saying? For instance, you're not gonna have someone walk in here and just push buttons up. I'm not gonna push buttons because I don't know what
What's
you've
going
done.
on?
I can mess something up. I'm not experienced unless I show you, hey man, I'm a sound producer that has many experience and I have documents to show it. You're gonna be like, yeah, bro, go ahead and look around and see if you can help us out. But you can't just get average Joe guys coming in here just saying, hey, I just want to make sure that this button plays
It's
that
legitimate.
button. I want to touch that button, bro. You're gonna be like, get off my button, bro. Touch my buttons, bro. I control this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's harder to explain to somebody outside why I can't let you do this. You know what I'm saying? You just have to know that. Trust me, bro. Like, I know what I'm doing, and when I tell you information, as a fellow human being, we have to trust each other. You know what I'm saying? And that would be my question: is why do you not trust human beings? And
Well, I think David's mindset is
Because human beings have a great reputation of being distrustful and lying and manipulating other human beings for their own benefit. There's a lot of reasons why to not trust human beings.
I would say,
Especially because you have to look at people's like whenever people are doing something, you have to think about, okay, what is this person getting out of doing these certain actions? Like you have to genuinely think about every possibility, good and bad. Like, because human beings throughout history have time and time again lied and manipulated people below them to take advantage of them to get certain things out of them. Kings have done it, emperors have done it, politicians have done it, scientists have done it. I mean, the Bible even states that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. I mean, even the Vatican Church back in the day, the Bible was only written in Latin. Nobody could read the Bible till Martin Luther actually was taught Latin, and then he translated it to, I can't remember the specific translation, but he was the first one to make a translation for the Bible outside of Latin. And then that was when the printing press came, and then the Catholic Church was exposed for all the lies that they were doing. So, like, we've just seen time and time again why you should not trust people at face value because what they say.
well, that's the thing. You've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen
So,
reasons not to trust
so
it. Off face value.
So I say like this: a lie is easily can go around the road.
Yeah.
1,000
Yeah.
times fast. It's just the truth is a lot slower, but it always catches
I
up.
heard you say that on the podcast,
Right.
and I thought that was such a great saying.
So anything
That's a great
that's
saying.
ever been kings, lies, Vaticans,
Right.
they've all been caught.
Right.
You're going to catch them.
But sometimes it takes a really long time.
It
for them to
does,
get
and
caught.
it's sad, but you can't worry about that. You have to just
Right.
trust the process. You have to trust the process, because if the process
I would-
isn't genuine,
I would disagree that you to not worry about it, because the only reason those people were exposed is because certain people worried about it and actually did something to go against them. And eventually, over the course of time, they finally succeeded. But it only happened because people had a problem with what they were doing and actually went against the grain. Because if they didn't do that, they would just keep getting away with it.
yeah.
Because nothing is like if you're doing something evil to somebody and there's nobody to challenge you, why in God's name would you stop?
Because I would say this.
especially if you're getting away with it. all
If you're
the
getting
time.
away with
So
it.
so guys, you gotta stay focused, right? So you gotta remember the topic we're talking about. None of it has been evil. All right. So
Right.
there's no. So we're not in an evil. There's nothing evil going on in our lives right now. So the fear thing is coming up because other instances there was evil being done, and we're using examples from other things. But there's no evil being done about dinosaur bones. You know what I'm saying? So there isn't a suppression on people who
I mean, I
comes
would
to the
disagree
museum.
with that. If they're genuinely lying about it and manipulating
But we're
the
not.
evidence, that is evil
we
because
don't-
that's a lie.
We don't know that though. What are they? So
But we don't know if it's true. But you could say the same thing on the other. Like, it's we don't know if it's true. We don't
But
know if it's
from the-
not. But we
from-
know that from evidence they've had instances of not telling the truth.
some evidence,
But that is cause for suspicion at least.
but the suspicion isn't enough for us to disbelieve everything. So, like you
Right.
said,
No, okay, I agree with you.
Right.
on that.
when you walk into a museum and there's no dinosaur bones put up, it may be because certain museums had expensive dinosaur bones put up, and the kid might draw on the bone. I see that all the time. They draw on the bones. They get color pencils. They draw on it. They jump on. I had a dude when I was out there and doing my route yesterday jump on my U-boat. I'm like, what the heck? What is this dude just jumping on stuff like crazy? You know what I'm saying? What if all my soda falls down? I have
Yeah,
to pick it
'cause
up. I
now you
got
gotta pick it
glass
up,
and
yeah.
Frappuccino,
Right.
Starbucks and stuff like that. How many kids do you think goes to a museum?
Word.
I think museums would be smart enough not to put out their really expensive archaeological fact, and they want to preserve it for the rest of humankind.
To say that they can't set up a way for independent researchers to go in there and actually check, that's just ridiculous.
Well, I want to say that because I've seen.
There's no way for them to do that.
Well,
I can't see it that way.
So what would what
So civilians, I understand, but like he's
Civilians,
talking about
yeah.
he's talking about in the
Independent
sense of researchers. though.
Independent
different.
research is
Yeah.
off of what credit though?
right? That's
Because
what I'm saying.
who
Like,
are you to
what
be,
qualifications
Exactly, that's why I
deems
say
you
you have
as
to-
an independent? Like, what is the rubric
Mhm.
to be considered an independent researcher? You see what I'm saying? Because then we could use that same logic that you're using
With
and
the
say
Vatican.
with the Vatican, where it's like, okay, what deems you as an independent research, and you're not fooling me just to get access.
Why should I let you
Yeah.
in
Well, yeah.
access to read
What-
the
what-
original?
yeah. Why should I let
Why
you?
should I let you push my buttons?
Right. You see what I'm saying? You're telling me you know this stuff,
But how do I know?
how do I know? You see what I'm saying? So it's like there's base suspicions amongst all avenues of science and religion and every
And
walk
it
of
takes
life.
so much energy to tell you.
To-
But
to
I
disregard.
also understand where David's coming from because if it gives you reason to suspicion, like
Right.
you want to know how you get from 1 to 10, you're just saying 1 to 10. He wants to do 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
5. Like if you're doing this, then that means you're hiding this. Now why are you hiding this? Now what's the reason for it? Now why is it back
So
there?
let me answer that. So in order, for instance, to test blood, say we're going to test. Say you test my blood, you know what I have, right? You have to first off get a sample,
Mhm.
and then you have to. Everything is done. It's not just one person. You got to understand it takes a whole group of people to do this. First off, you have to get my blood. I go to maybe a tech in CVS. They get my blood. They have
Quest
to.
Diagnostics.
They have to draw. I'm not going to trust anybody to draw my blood. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They draw it. Then they wrap it up and they send it off to somebody. The mailman, the postman, they have to do their job and do whatever they do. So talk about trust. You got this.
That's a lot of trust.
They
Right.
got to go in, then they got to go in, and then it
That's
goes
a lot
under
of
a
trust.
lab. It goes on to testing. It goes under that. How many independent researchers do you think comes into a museum is like, let me get a sample of your bone material, and then okay, you're independent researcher. How do I know your U.S. carrier, your postman, transporting my bones that I'm giving you samples of? Are they doing
There's
the
a
correct
system
things?
in place that identifies.
And it's just like
certain-
it
but-
just takes more energy to.
All right, but let me give you an example. Like last year, I went to draw blood because
Mhm.
6-month health check, whatever. So the lady drew out 4 vials. I said, "Do you guys use all this just to test out what I have in my?" No, we only use 1 vial. I said, "What do you do with the
What do you
rest?"
do with the
Oh, we
rest?
don't know. They just send it in Orlando and
it's
just store it.
nuts.
So
It's-
now that's why I
that's
get.
her lack of knowledge, though.
But that's but that of
But
course.
she's been entrusted
But-
with something, so
That's just her lack of knowledge.
Right.
She just doesn't know.
I feel
Yeah.
that.
That's her fault. That's her lack of knowledge. She just probably just been so used to.
But can't you look at that and be like, okay,
That's suspicious.
It's suspicious because you have reached this point in which you're dealing with hazardous material,
Yep.
You don't know
and
what
you don't know what's.
That's a good point. So, are you going to use that
So how
lady's
did you
lack
get
of
to this
knowledge?
point?
Are you going to use that lady lack of knowledge to umbrella her to everybody?
No.
Oh, no, no, no,
Absolutely
No,
not.
but you can look at the institution itself lower because it's like, how in God's name did you guys let this woman get to this point where she's dealing with, again, hazardous material and she doesn't realize what she's doing? How have you guys not figured out that she doesn't realize what she's doing yet?
Mhm.
Because
So
the
instantly that's cause for suspicion.
Suspicion, and that's why I understand where he's coming from
truth
with
has
that.
came out. Have you guys heard about that nurse bust with the nurses
What do you mean?
when they were getting fake diplomas from Miami?
Word, I heard about that. Yeah,
Truth caught up.
About that.
Yeah,
The
truth
truth
caught
caught
up.
up. You know
Wait,
what
what
I'm saying?
happened there?
There's in Miami they were able to buy now nursing is
Nurse practitioner.
it's a crazy it takes a lot of skills to be like
It's very
to
lucrative.
pass, yeah, it's very lucrative.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And nurses was going around it by going to Miami and going to these fake schools and just paying for a diploma, which is like $10,000.
So
And
you
they-
just
they
give
just-
them $10,000
And they give you
fake
fake.
diploma.
And now they found out that
How'd they catch them?
they just did. I mean, like I said,
Somebody was.
I'm not
That's
a
his
detective.
point.
I don't know.
But that's what he's saying. That's his point. It's like they get suspicious because if nobody
No
questioned
one questions
it,
it.
then
Yeah.
they would have gotten away with it.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like, but at the same time,
It always comes after.
but how many do you think these nurses? I mean, guys, gotta remember, some of these nurses have to go through hell because they know the knowledge, but they have to go through the test. How many lives do you think the nurses saved? You know what I'm saying?
Actually, you want to know something interesting about nurses? at the job I work at now, I'm a medical tech, so I deliver medical equipment. One of the guys I work with, he was a nurse for 40 years, and he retired, and now he works with us just a couple of days just to make some extra money. And every once in a while, he explains to me, like, how nursing was back in the day, and he'll also call out nurses because since he is a nurse, he knows what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So one of the things he said that was really interesting was, in the early 2000s, they completely changed the curriculum on how they teach nurses. So back in the day, it was more hands-on. More, you dealt with an actual patient majority of your training. In the 2000s, they switched it all to bookwork, majority of it. So it was more about tests, more about learning the terminology instead of really dealing with the patients. So what happened is a lot of these nurses get into the field, they don't know how to work the equipment. They don't know how to do simple, basic things because they know they're an encyclopedia, they know all the terminology, but when it comes to actually doing certain things, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that too is that's like another reason for, I guess, like just concern, because like beforehand too, if you were working on a patient and you messed up once, you were out. You couldn't be a nurse anymore.
In the early 2000s.
And
Before
the early 2000s.
Yeah. Oh,
Now,
before that,
before they changed the curriculum. If you messed up on a patient once, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
They were that strict with it, but now they become more lackadaisical with it.
Because they're struggling with nurses.
Because they're struggling, they need more nurses. Because a lot of nurses have left.
So it lowers the
expectations
and the expertise. Like, prime example, right? So let's bring this back to AI, right? So prime example, where you had a lot of these airlines kind of crashing. I believe Malaysian flight something.
When was this?
I believe it was about a few years back.
Okay.
Malaysian flight 7 something. I forgot the whole thing, but pretty much we all know autopilot flies these planes now. AI is flying these planes.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Seriously?
These pilots are not flying these planes.
they're just chilling now.
They're just here.
They'll take them straight to the destination.
Yeah, just in case. All the wing positions.
Their autopilot
everything
is actually autopilot.
Actually
not like autopilot.
Right. So the threshold, the bar to become a licensed pilot
is low.
Well, the thing is that the pilot's job was to take off and land.
Right, that's it.
That's their job.
That's it.
Just to be able to
That's
take
like
off
when they
and
went
land.
manual, some of them would freak
Yeah,
out.
when they went
when they're in the air, they just put on autopilot.
and it does everything.
But when it comes to storms and stuff and adjusting, you have to gotta adjust this and this and that. That's what the pilots were in there for emergency.
So like most of the times they open up the autopilot,
Right, they didn't know how to disengage the autopilot.
Yeah.
And they were trying to correct the plane, but the autopilot kept malfunctioned or something like that. And it forced the plane into a nosedive.
Yeah.
And they struggled for about 5 minutes trying to straighten this plane, trying to override the autopilot.
But again, that is a lack of knowledge. It's not it's just the user didn't know how to they had too much stuff that was good for them that they just didn't know how to use everything.
So
yeah, like in that situation, really, I feel like it's the fault of whoever put those pilots in there without them having full knowledge on how to fly an actual plane. Because like in that situation, I'm definitely with Jimmie. Like that AI was there to help them out, and really the only way it didn't help them out is when the autopilot started messing up. But if you actually put a trained pilot behind there, even when the autopilot messed up, he'd get behind the wheel and he'd fix the plane until the autopilot was fixed.
Or the old school
how many times
pilots.
How many times have our moms was like, fix the internet, my remote control's not working, my cable Back in the days we used to have like how many times have you heard your mom talk about something back in the days we didn't have this and mom, dad back in the days we didn't have to do this, and it's all because they're struggling with adapting. And trying to get and you're like, well, I guess we have to throw out our phones now because mom and dad don't how many old people we know now still does everything direct. Turns off their phone. You know, John, he doesn't use his phone. Man's on dial. You know, he doesn't want to use a phone. He hates using cell phones. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you gotta look at it from our old generation, and it's not our. It's because I always like to use the example when we talk about generation. it's not our moms, it's our grandparents.
Mhm.
So it's like, because it takes a while to look at the adaptability, because we can still adapt with our new generation.
Mhm.
Right.
Like the new generation coming out now, we can still adapt with them.
With them,
and
word.
the stuff that they're still going through, we can still adapt with them.
Yeah.
But the older, our parents will never be able to adapt with our new generation, our kids, our baby.
Well, here's the thing. I actually saw a TikTok where it was explaining why these newer, younger generations don't understand technology as well as Gen X, millennials, and some of Gen Z. Where it's like we actually understand how these machines operate because we've seen how they've advanced.
Yeah, and
You see what I'm saying?
I would say, because you gotta remember, we're like water. Nothing stands still. There's always a source that's funneling and keeping the water moving. So we can be technology advanced. This generation can know technology, but now the new generation is going through AI.
Gen Alpha.
Yeah, but they're born in it.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, true.
that's a give. So they won't understand
exactly.
it. They'll just it's there.
Well, let me ask you this: does our new generation understand what a CD player is?
Gen Alpha? No.
Do they have to understand?
Cassette, VHS.
Why
no.
should they have to understand what a Game Boy is?
They don't.
They don't. Do they have to understand what a floppy disk is?
No.
So it's
Oh my
like, bro,
God,
you
you're
gotta,
making me feel old.
you gotta, exactly. That's what it is.
God damn,
So-
I remember it.
So you gotta remember, as our generation goes on, yes, we can be technology advanced and understand it,
Tech savvy.
but
Yeah.
our new generation doesn't have to understand that.
Yeah.
And it's not us.
It just is.
It's
just is,
It's
right.
not us that is, because like I said, we can still live with our new generation. It's their kids. It's going to be such a separation when it
Right.
comes to what
'Cause
they have.
they're going to see the
They-
transition.
They're going to be in a new where everything's automated, where there's no driving.
Right.
So you gonna
Yeah.
one day.
So that's normal to them.
our kids. They're going to ask us, "What the hell?" I just saw a picture of a driving. They're not going to know what it is.
A steering
What is-
wheel.
What is
What
this
is
circle
this?
thing? And you're like, "What the fuck?"
Damn, I'm old. I was born in the 1900s.
Shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was born in the
Yeah.
1900s.
That's
You gotta
different.
remember, like, yes, we know how to drive a car, but them motherfuckers don't even know how to drive.
Nah.
Why?
Because it does it for them.
Why
Yeah.
why waste it? Like I said, everything goes into potential energy. You know what I'm saying? If you can like perpetual motion, if you can stop energy from coming out,
wasted energy.
wasted
Right.
energy, we're all going into that.
Mhm.
We're all going to waste. You can look at the past. We've all been translating into as human beings, how can we use our energy
More
and not
efficient.
waste it?
Right.
That's what every new advance
Right.
has been coming out. So are we going to trust the product? Yeah, there's going to be some things in here and there. You know, there's good and evil, bro.
Right.
But there's always going to be more good because evil always get weeded out. Name one time in history that continues now where evil is still dominant. Everything has been, governments has been exposed. Kingdoms have been failed. Corruption.
Collapse.
I would challenge you on that. I would say that evil runs the world today, right now. I would say the majority of governments around the world, especially how we saw them handle COVID, pretty much across the board, majority of them are evil. Yes, there's a lot of good players within those institutions, but there's such a majority of evil and selfish individuals who are at the helms of power right now that control and manipulate our lives, that I would say right now the dominant force is evil. But I would say it's always been like that, and I would say that when it comes to the good, it's always a remnant throughout history. I would
And
always say it's a small group of people, but the thing that's crazy about good is it's so much more powerful than evil is. A good man's actions are far more powerful than 100 evil men's actions.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
And I gave them an example before. You know what I'm saying? Evil is a short-term game.
Right.
It is.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Evil is such a short-term game. I mean, look at everybody that's been found. Bill Cosby, where is he? He's fucking R. Kelly. Bro, they've all been, bro. You gotta understand, like, slavery is evil, right?
Yeah.
But
Word.
where like I'm saying.
I mean,
right
it's still
now,
going on now, but it's
there
not as
might be
prevalent as
there
it was
might
back
be
in the
going
day.
on now, but bro, I'm telling you, good has always outlived evil, and it's not even a majority, by the way. The majority of evil is from the 1%. You know what I'm saying? It's always the 1% that is doing it. It's always the kings, not the people. But it's always the majority that gets rid of the evil. it's always going to be the majority that gets rid of the evil. And then anything that is opposite of evil, in return, has to be good.
Right.
So if the evil is the minority and the
Yeah.
majority is good, then in definition there is more good than evil, because it's only those people. And to be honest, it's the people that you put as that your most amount of trust in. And we'll go into the Bible, right? So there was God was the God of Israel. Jacob's kin is Jacob's sons, Isaac's sons, Abraham's sons. God promised Abraham that he would be, his people is going to be far magnitude, nationwide, or whatever. He
Or in
promised.
the sands of the sea.
promised
Yeah, continue. Sorry.
he promised everything. So Isaac had, Jacob had one son. It was Isaac, and Isaac was going to be killed or whatever. And God, decided, because Abraham was so loyal to him, that he was going to spare his son. And he promised him that his kin and all that stuff was going to be whatever. And then Isaac had two sons. Two of his sons was Jacob and Esau. And then Jacob stole Esau's blessing. And, after that, Jacob had 12 sons. And then Jacob's name was turned into Israel. And he had the 12 sons of Israel. And then they had a whole bunch of kin. And then Israel became a whole nation, right? So, but in that beginning, in that whole thing, Israel decided to denounce God a bunch of times. Like, there's been many times in the Bible that
I denounce you 1,000.
Israel, like, even when Moses was still on the mountain, they found other gods. God would literally tell Moses, "I'm about to wipe out all of y'all motherfuckers." Multiple times, bro.
There was actually a point where Moses complained to God, and he straight up said, "Did I birth these people? Do I have to deal with, like, they're bitching and complaining?"
Moses
He got fed up with that.
Moses went to God and said, "Hey, God, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired, bro. I'm tired, boss. These people, it's too much of them, man. I need help.
Like, see all these grays?
I
Nah.
can't keep prophesying. They don't believe you're God. God, I gotta tell them 1,000 times who you are. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like it's crazy, bro. So God was like, all right, man. God was all like, you think that God was just like all knowing that, I knew Moses wasn't going to handle this. Mm-hmm. But no, he had to learn too what human beings were and how they reacted. Because if that wasn't the case, God would have never did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Or listened to what he did. So Moses.
Well, I would disagree with you on that. I would say that God is all knowing, and God was doing that for purpose. I would say that the reason why Israel kept. The reason why God allowed Israel to keep sinning and keep coming back to him was because God was trying to build a perfect picture of every Christian's relationship with every children of God's relationship with God. And if you look at Israel, it is it's a perfect symbology of what it is, because like what Israel means is those who wrestle with God. And what did the children of Israel do? Constantly wrestle with God. Anybody who follows God is constantly wrestling with him. Because they're constantly battling between what you want to do and what God wants you to do.
Israel is the name of is Jacob.
Yep.
Jacob is Israel. So Israel.
Because God changed his name to Israel.
Yeah. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and everything under that is Israel. You know what I'm saying? So there's 12 tribes of Israel. You got obviously Jacob's son was why am I saying Jacob? Was his name Jacob? Who's the guy with Joseph? So Joseph there was Joseph, Ben, Dan,
Judah, Benjamin.
Like it was a lot of them tribes in Israel. But those tribes, just because their father is a king, doesn't mean you're the fucking, you watch One Piece with that.
Right.
The beginning of the episode, Zoro, getting, on the cross, and
right.
You got
this guy, this punk,
like,
right.
My
dad's a Marine captain, and blah, blah, blah.
And the dad's like, get your bitch ass over here. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of happened with Israel, just because, your God, your father was the favor of God.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And yes, God gave, God can still wipe you out, just like what he did with Noah. He can still wipe out humanity and Israel and keep one motherfucker. and still keep his promise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We just gonna rebuild. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna rebuild.
It really be like that, bro.
Shit. Bro, I just need two of you.
It's like, bro,
That's it. I just need two.
We good.
And
We
he
chilling.
told,
The rest of you.
he told Moses that. Moses was like, "Yo, God, please listen. Don't do it, God." And God was like, "Get your people. Get your people."
I'm tired of them.
I'm tired of it. They having sex with each other again. This is the third generation. This is my
Dude.
fifth time telling you not to have. Like, they were crazy, bro.
Dude, it was actually so wild because, like, what's crazy, they really did this, bro. Imagine this, bro, right? Imagine you're Moses, right? You're with the people of Israel, okay? So you're out Mount Sinai, and God...
Sinai.
40 days, bro.
So God has told
That's
you
nuts.
and told everybody, like, yo, this is the rules. When you speak to me and when I'm going to show my presence, it's going to be in a very specific way. If you don't follow my rules, you're going to fucking die. If you touch the mountain, if you look at the mountain...
You're
Don't.
gonna die.
You're gonna die.
You're dead.
Right?
Yeah.
So Moses goes up to the... So they just witnessed that, right?
Yeah, and they're talking to God.
Yeah.
Actually talks to the people.
So
Like,
Moses-
you were on the... They heard God.
Yeah, bro. Because, like, Moses goes up there, bro, and God shows up. God shows up in, like, what was it, like a thunderstorm or something?
Yeah, he showed himself as clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it showed up as, like, oh, shit, like, God's here,
God,
right?
word.
So his voice literally sounds like thunder.
Thunder.
Okay, so they're all seeing this, and they're witnessing this, okay? So Moses is up there for, like, 40 days.
40 days it took.
And then they get the brilliant idea of...
It's made of
They
gold.
start...
Abraham
They-
had a... Moses
they built
had a brother.
cattle.
Moses had a
Gold
brother.
cow.
Was it Lot? Was Moses'
Aaron.
brother? Aaron.
Aaron.
Moses left Aaron down there, and Aaron's by himself.
And he's like, what are
And
you
you
guys
got-
doing?
Fucked up.
And you got these people who
My
wants
God.
to have a God. They want a God, bro.
They want to God so
And
bad.
Aaron was like, whatever, give me all your gold and everything and whatever, give me all your stuff like gifts to God. And he just threw it in the fire, and the cattle came out.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, no, not only that. So Moses comes down, and he asks Aaron, basically, what the hell
No,
are you guys...
Moses came down because God was like, get your people.
Oh, yeah.
He's just chilling up there, and God looks down and like, yo, Moses,
Oh,
bro,
bro.
your hands down there now.
Oh, yeah, bro.
That's when Moses gets the 10 Commandments, too. And
Yeah.
like...
Moses
Before
broke that.
me.
I think Moses broke the
Yeah,
tabernacle.
he did. He was so mad.
He was like, "What the hell? I just gave y'all all these rules,
No,
and I've been up there for a month and 10 days, and
That's
y'all already got another God."
That's true.
Didn't I tell you this man was jealous? He will wipe us all out.
But not only that, like, dude, like the sorry ass excuse that Aaron gave would have just set me over the edge if I was Moses. Because you walk up to Aaron, your brother, and like you left him responsible.
Yeah.
You could all get killed for Aaron's fuck up in this moment, right? So you walk up to Aaron and you're like, "What the fuck, bro? How? And then his answer is, "Well, they all came to me and gave me gold, and I threw it into the fire, and a
the
calf
cattle-
came out."
Yeah, calf came out.
That was his answer.
Remember Shamika? I was telling her that there was other gods.
Yeah.
There and
Just magically appeared.
yeah, and I think that you gotta remember too that so you know how Shamika was telling. So Shamika's a
Shemeka.
woman-
Yeah,
Shemeka's
Shemeka.
someone I work with, and she basically she said that God is the only one, and you know all the stuff like that. But you gotta remember back in the days, God only showed Himself to Hebrews at that time.
Yeah.
And it was only the Hebrews that He showed Himself to. You know what I'm saying? So you got at that time Hebrews was in slavery at that. No. It came from.
Help him out, David.
He found
talking about
favor.
where Moses
He
is?
found favor in Noah. All right.
Yeah.
And Noah was the one that was able to survive.
Yeah.
All right. So all of Noah's people, God, after that happened, after the destruction of Noah, He found favor in the Hebrews. All right. So that's how He found favors in Hebrew. That's why He was always the Hebrew God. So all these other nations and things like that came from Noah, they had their own nations, and God cursed different nations and stuff like that, from Cain and all that other stuff. They had their own gods. They had their own appointed gods that did stuff and did things as well. So yeah, a calf actually came out, and God actually says in the Bible that this calf tried to talk to him, and he didn't honor what they was trying to, say to him. That's why when you ask yourself, how is Satan able to talk to God when he was tempting Job? Is there a realm that they go to, or is there a direct connection?
Oh, I definitely think so.
So
100%.
it's like how in the world
Ooh,
can
let's-
Satan?
Jimmy, to
let's
go,
get
to
into
go off
that,
your point,
boy.
not only that, I can't remember where it happened in the Old Testament, but there's a point in the Old Testament where Israel rejects God and they start worshiping other gods.
Oh yeah.
And obviously God's pissed off because he's like, bro, this is like the 90th time you're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but then what God does is
He still
he
loves them.
sells them to bondage
Yeah.
to a spirit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because what's crazy too is in the Bible it describes that angels, like spirits, have territory over different parts of the world,
Mhm.
right? Like there's different angels and different demons that have gained territory, and apparently they gain territory through how the people are acting.
But they never gain territory over the Hebrew people. That's always God's people.
Well,
So
unless
ain't-
God sells them into slavery, which he has.
God,
He has
so
done.
so the reason that God sells them into slavery is to make them cry out to Him again.
Yeah.
So
To lead them to
because
repentance.
God made a covenant. You got a covenant with God is a serious thing.
Sacred.
And
Yeah, he don't break his word.
He always made a covenant to Isaac. He always goes back to Isaac and Abraham and Moses.
Mm.
So those are, whenever a Jew will refer themselves, they always refers themselves back to Isaac, Moses, and Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Abraham, the God of Moses, because those are the people who made a covenant with God. But God will kill you. God will kill the Israels or whatever.
He
It's
even
still
almost
not,
killed Moses.
and not yeah. He almost killed. Moses was dumb, by the way.
Yeah.
He was stupid. Moses didn't want to do what he wanted. The reason why Moses and Aaron had such a connection was because Moses had a stuttering problem, a bad speech thing.
Oh yeah, he
So-
didn't want to go.
So he didn't want to go.
didn't wanna
That thing that happened
Exposed.
with the snake. God was like, Moses like, listen, God, I know you want me to do this, but I don't want to do this. So God said, all right, well, bring Aaron along with you. Now this wasn't God's plan. He wanted Moses to do it by himself, but he said, bring Aaron along with you, and Aaron will speak for you, and you will do the things that I tell you to do. So Aaron and Moses was actually in front of the king, and Aaron was the one speaking. Moses was dumb. He was stupid.
But they didn't show that in all the
He had
iterations.
like a speech impediment.
He had a speech impediment, and he had a speech
Oh
impediment.
wow.
Yeah, Moses wasn't all that, you know what I'm
He
saying?
like stuttered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't have that much comfort, but he had the love for God.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
Aaron was more of a, I can talk to you and
I
be
feel
able
that.
to do
People-
all that stuff.
People
As a
person.
wingman.
But what I'm trying to say is, again, so the people wanted a king.
Mhm.
All right? So the people cried out to Moses and
Oh wait, no, they didn't want a king till
they wanted someone that
Saul came in the picture.
so exactly. So they wanted a king. So
That was way after Moses, though.
it was way after Moses. It was Samuel. Samuel was
Yeah,
the
you're
one.
right.
Yeah. So it was okay. So go back into it. There's a guy named Eli. He was a prophet of God. You know what I'm saying? And Eli's sons, by the way, were corrupt. They were actually taking the fat of the. They were taking the good fat of the animals
Mhm.
that were being sacrificed.
Didn't
and
they
were
fuck up
keeping-
with the ark? Didn't they lose it?
They didn't. No one. They haven't lost it. They don't.
No.
lose it.
Remember the one battle in the Old Testament?
Yeah.
One of the sons of like a prophet or something. They like took the ark out because they thought it was gonna help them win the battle.
Yeah.
And they got killed, and then Canaan, I think, stole the ark.
Not Cain.
It was one of the countries they stole the ark and they put it in front of their god, and every morning they would wake up
Yep.
and the god's statue would
Yep.
be on its face.
Yep.
Wow.
I think that was the fight. And I was actually going to get into it. That was after David became king.
Yeah.
And he had a son. One of his sons actually raped his sister.
That's
Damn.
Oh, and then Absalom got pissed
Yep.
because
And
David didn't
Absalom-
do anything.
So David, well, I mean, there were sons. I mean, it's your son.
right. That's your son.
No, but that's
It's not
why
crazy.
Absalom got pissed because David didn't punish
because
him.
they were still in the promised land, and thou shalt not kill. So all those Ten Commandments didn't apply to everybody else. By the way,
Just
So,
that land.
just Hebrews and the people. So that's why when you get into the New Testament, change. By the way,
Word change.
The New Testament, a lot of those people rejected Jesus. So that's what I'm getting to, the fear as well. So people fear God. People fear Jesus and what he did, and that's why he was killed. But back in those days, when you're in the promised land, you could not. All those 10 Commandments apply to that, and any of that would have been led to death. So his son loved his sister, and one of his mentors or whatever advised him to pretend like you're sick and call your sister in to help you, and he called his sister in, and then his sister was like, trying to help him, do whatever, and he grabs her, rapes her, and then he got so pissed off at himself that he didn't want to see her at all. But back in those days with sacred marriages, once you reach that the cherry or whatever,
right, consummated.
Right. She ripped off her wedding gown.
Oh, wow.
Whatever, because virgins back in the day wore a certain gown or whatever, and after that she ripped it off and she told her brother, "You have to have me because now I'm unclean.
Right.
So no one else is gonna take me. My purpose isn't gonna be anything now. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And because he kind of then dismissed her, she killed herself.
Wow.
Yeah, she killed. Did she kill herself?
Yeah.
I think she killed herself.
Damn.
And then Absalom found out about that.
And
mind you, you couldn't kill each other. So what he did was he plotted something to get all the brothers and stuff together, because David had a lot of kids.
Word.
So they all got together in an event, and they somehow mutually everybody knew what happened. You know what I'm saying? But somehow Absalom was able to kill his brother. And David got pissed off about that, and he said no, Absalom no longer could see him or come back in the tribe or whatever. Because remember, in the Promised Land that God brought everybody out from Egypt, they had the 10 Commandments for that purpose.
Right.
So he sent him out because he killed his brother, and then Samuel, he was still alive. Or was it Samuel? Maybe it was someone else, but one of Samuel, I believe, because Samuel was the one that picked David. Samuel came back and was able to convince David to forgive his son, and then when his son came in, man, there's just a lot of stuff. That shit goes in deep, bro. That shit goes into deep.
Bro.
So it's crazy. So I'm trying to say, all of Israel, it wasn't always good and evil, even with God's people. You know what I'm saying? Because even David, now mind you, David was a conqueror. The guy that swung God was always with David. And the people wanted a king, and Saul was their first king, but Saul got corrupted. Saul was a tall, handsome man, taller than the rest, and God was like, you know what, Eli, I want that to be the king.
I want that Chad right there.
And they picked Saul. He was a Chad, deadass, and actually, they loved it.
I just want to make one point here, because when it comes to the story of Saul and David, like, one thing I really love about the story is the way that God looks and picks people, and the way that man looks and picks people.
Yeah.
Because, like, everybody wanted a king, right? God didn't even want there to be a king, because God is king.
What are you a king for?
Right.
But the people cried out for it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? People wanted a king, and
they wanted somebody like Moses again.
Word. Okay.
Because once Moses, who was after Joshua? Yeah, it was Joshua.
No, after Moses, it just went into like a little mini like cycle.
No, because Joshua took over, and that's when they took over.
That was filler.
Yeah, but it was literally
when they took over Canaan.
Yeah.
But anyways,
because after Moses, wasn't Moses and Lot intertwined?
I believe so.
Yeah.
No, that was Abraham. Lot was
Abraham and Lot,
because Lot was Abraham's.
Okay, yeah. So.
No, Abraham was Lot's uncle.
Did you know that Lot's daughters?
Oh my gosh! Wait, hold on. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose topic.
Yeah. We're going down the rabbit hole.
So, but what's really interesting is like the way that God and man like chooses people, because like everybody wanted a king, so God was like, all right. So he goes to Samuel and he's like, yo, they want a king, like. Go find somebody. Right? So Samuel goes around and he asks the people like
Samuel the donkey. Samuel's father donkey. Was he lost a donkey or whatever.
Yeah.
And Samuel was like, I gotta find this donkey, and then that's when he met up with
Saul.
And God told Saul, a man's gonna come to you looking for a donkey. I want him as king.
And then what was crazy is everybody was super excited. Everybody wanted Saul to be king. But the thing was, the moment Saul heard the news, he hid under a barrel.
Yeah.
And everybody was looking for him. So first impression,
God
guys.
said, look.
So then we move later on, and Saul fucks up a couple of times, And then he fucks up big time this one time. I can't remember exactly what he did.
It was
but
God.
he didn't
was,
kill everybody.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
God was conquered. He said, "I want everyone killed. I want all
The
animals
animals, the women, the children,
and
the men.
Saul didn't
everything.
do that. He decided to keep some of the treasures and stuff like that, and he said, "I was going to sacrifice it to you." And whatever, and he fucked up like that, and God immediately regretted making him king.
Yep, that was it.
And that was,
David-
and God left him. So Saul was always the conqueror like David, but when he fucked up, God left Saul, and he went crazy. He actually gave him demons. So
Yeah,
demons,
he was possessed.
he was possessed by demons.
David would
And
even
David
play
would-
for him
David would play
to
the flute.
ease his mind.
Yeah,
Was the only, and what was crazy too is like, so then God picks David, but like what's so interesting about David was the youngest out of all of his brothers.
yeah.
David was so low that David was a shepherd. Now, back in the day, shepherds were like they're like garbage guys. Like the lowest, they're not that garbage guys.
The lowest
are
of the lows.
But like, think of like janitor or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like bottom of the
Bear.
food chain, right? You don't even consider them.
Dang.
That's how low David was according to society.
Dang.
And so when David's father brings out his brothers to show Samuel,
Mhm.
he doesn't even bring David out.
That's crazy.
Damn.
Doesn't even bring him out to
That's
get
Pull a Cinderella.
Dog,
And
that's crazy.
Samuel goes through each one of them and he's like, none of these guys are the one. Like,
What
do
are
you
doing?
have another
Right.
son? And he's like, I mean, yeah, I guess. And then he brings out David, and then immediately David gets anointed. But then what's crazy is you see the way that David acted and Saul acted completely different.
Mhm.
Because David was the only person in the Bible that it states that he had a heart. What was it again? He had a heart. He was a man after God's own heart. And he's the only person described in the Bible
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, so mind you, he was a shepherd.
Mhm.
So when it came to Goliath, he looked at Goliath, man, was like, everybody was scared of Goliath. He's like, bro, I fought bigger bears than this guy.
He was talking shit,
I
bro.
fought lions. You know how many times I lost my sheep and I had to go find my sheep and wrestle with lions? And you're scared of this guy? You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Get my slingshot and just do it at him.
Dude,
You know what I'm
you
saying?
guys got to think about this, right? So imagine you're at. So basically, the way they did it, they had two camps and there was like a valley in the middle, right? So back in the day, what they would do is they would pick a champion because instead of having your whole army fight and wipe out a majority of your forces,
Mhm.
you just have one guy fight and then whoever wins wins,
Wins.
right? The other
Oh, that's
team
legit. We
slain.
should do that today.
And
Makes more
God
sense.
left Saul too at that time, so Saul was scared because he didn't have God.
Exactly. So
God
Saul was
wasn't
being a
with
pussy, bro,
Word.
hiding in his camp. And
Word.
Goliath was out here for 40 days and 40 nights talking mad shit. Mad shit. And everybody was afraid. These are
That's
grown men.
Crazy.
Not one person stood up to fight.
Put
And
that man in a COD lobby, bro.
David, as like a 14-year-old kid, shows up. And the moment he hears Goliath talking shit, he's like, who the hell would talk about God like that?
Yeah,
Immediately was ready to fight.
Damn.
And his brothers even got pissed at him because they thought he was being some cocky little prick.
Damn.
And then David went out.
Oh, word. Absolutely.
So like David had a different level of confidence in God, which was an interesting aspect to about him as a character.
Mhm.
Because he always had total faith in God and there was even another instance where he had like 3 opportunities to kill Saul. When Saul actually banished him, exiled him from Israel, and was actually out to kill him when he did nothing wrong. And there was 3 instances where David snuck into his cave and could have killed him. But the reason he didn't do it was he said that, no, God picked him as king. I cannot go against God's decision.
Word.
So
That's crazy.
it was a really interesting
Wow.
character.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to get to
With the fear.
is that if I can remember it.
We went to a rabbit
What
hole.
was it? Other gods?
God, it was God. God picked the king, like that. God picked David or whatever. But shoot, I think I already lost it now. It's just out of my memory. It was something about God picking David that people wanted David to be king, and they messed up. David messed up. Oh, David messed up many times. Saul messed up many times. Or whatever, but it was just one person that controlled all of it. You know what I'm saying? And they messed up. They messed up with God or whatever, and God sees that. You know what I'm saying? So yes, there's gonna be times where you get people and leaders who control the majority of things.
Yeah, because
But
you're
if they-
talking about good and
if
evil.
Because they can't
if
be all good.
If the,
Yeah.
there is, and
There is
even
no all
even
good.
God's people weren't all good. So you
Yeah.
gotta remember, like God knows that
Right.
people aren't all good.
All good.
Yeah, for sure. For
People
sure.
will always manipulate and try to
That's
and
right.
extort people and get more things and stuff like that.
That's right.
And if it happened with Israel and the king and David, all these people aren't good guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they were favored by God. God had direct connections with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Moses wasn't all good. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Moses just was as good with God. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But his people, like the things that he done, Jacob wasn't all good. He was sleeping
That's
with
right.
prostitutes and
That's
they
right.
There's
had
a little snake that.
Yeah, but would you say, because what he was saying is evil runs the world, but
Doesn't, yeah.
would you say those were mistakes compared to people today know exactly what they're
Actively
doing
working
Yes.
with the devil.
with the
Well,
devil
yeah.
to do that?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's no such thing as the devil doing anything that's
Well, yeah,
Right.
yeah. What, but that's what I'm saying. Well, not the devil made you do it type thing, but
Yeah.
in the sense of like back in the day, you were explaining. Yes, people weren't all good, but they also made mistakes, but God still accepted them. But today, some bad people are deliberately
yes
creating this evil.
Creating evil.
as trying to create.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what happens when, for instance, I mean, what happens with anything when something's found out? You always get a push.
Yeah, it balances out.
It always balances
Yeah,
out.
it always
you can see
balances
it's everywhere. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's a
in
yin
the
and
universe.
yang. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, are we going to fear this? Or are we just going to
Like if
trust the
evil comes
process?
with this, you need to
If-
trust
if-
that the good.
If I trust you and I say, hey, you know, I want you to work for me, and you're stealing from me,
Or,
am I supposed to just stop? I'm never going to hire a black person again because they all still like, come on, bro. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. Like if I hire someone and I got them working for me, and they might be black, white, they might be a woman, they might be a man, and they steal from me.
a thief is a thief.
Should I punish the next person?
No.
No, right? Because guess what? We're all different.
Right.
You all have different leaders. Mahatma Gandhi, whatever his name was. I mean, that's a tongue
Yeah.
twister in my head. He led more than any other leader in the day of age. They feared him because of his influence.
Right.
He led more people than so you can see what would happen if you have a good leader and what would happen if you have a bad leader. So a good leader can lead way more people and be more and change everyone's mindset. You know what I'm saying? But why are we not talking about all the good that good people do? You know what I'm saying? Evil people, we should not. I don't know why these movies comes out with Jeff Dahmers and stuff like that.
Jeffrey
Why are we
Dahmer,
coming
right.
out with Jeff Dahmer
Right.
Netflixes and good people are watching it too? Why I haven't watched it at all? Because why are we celebrating evil?
Word.
Why should we only highlight the evil
Especially if they
things in
made
the
so
world?
many different interpretations
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Jeffrey
I mean, why are
Dahmer,
we?
yeah.
Why is there a Netflix series on murder and
Why are we
and
monetizing
psychopaths
sociopathy?
and selling it and watching movies on it? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Why are we? You know what I'm saying?
I think
Sorry.
because in today's society,
it spreads that fear.
people are desensitized to stuff that they see on the internet. So on top of that, a lot of people just love murderers.
and
But that's like that.
they love to have fear.
Yeah.
They want to be fear. They want to be like, oh, there is like you can try to. I mean, you can try to get rid of all the evil in the world, and somebody's gonna bring it back up.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because anytime there's a minority of something, it always grow. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like
It always has the potential to grow. Right.
exactly.
Jimmy, I got a question for you. So, okay, when it comes to the devil, so I'm under the personal belief that the devil has been given the earth at this time period as his kingdom, and I think that he's been given the earth as his kingdom ever since Adam sinned in the beginning. I think originally we had dominion over earth, but I feel like once we sinned, we gave up that right to the devil. Now, the reason why I would say that it is like that is I go back to when the devil confronted Jesus in the desert. Now, and the third temptation that he tempted him with all the kingdoms of the world. And he said, I will give these to you if you bow down and worship me.
And what did Jesus say?
Jesus didn't say he was wrong. He didn't say that's not yours to give. He said, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. So the thing is, why didn't Jesus, because Jesus is God, why did he not correct the devil in that moment?
Because it's not impossible for me as a human being. It's not totally impossible for me as a human being to own every kingdom in the world. What was one of those great kings, King Arthur or whatever? King Arthur, right?
Yeah, King Arthur, Alexander the
Alexander,
Great.
yeah. How many kings did he have?
Like 15.
A lot of them, right?
Yeah.
And he was on the. And what happened with German? Everybody in the world almost spoke Germany. You know what I'm saying? What happened with Hitler? That motherfucker almost had it, bro.
Genghis Khan.
I mean, we gotta be honest. That
boy.
motherfucker almost had it, dog.
Yeah.
Hitler almost controlled the world. But what happened? They don't control the world, do they?
Mm-hmm.
So the devil, in a sense, if you want to say he can manipulate a few kings and all this stuff like that, but at the same time, you got to remember that the world has been like that before the devil has came in. You know what I'm saying?
I would say that the world was different before the devil showed up.
The world was the same.
Why would you say that?
Because you just said it. Actually,
What do you mean?
You just talked about how many times the God was going to destroy the people.
No,
and the
but
devil
again,
had nothing to do with that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No. What I said was the world changed after Adam sinned, and Adam sinned when the devil came into the earth. So when the devil came into the earth, he did tempt Adam and Eve to sin, which gave up their dominion, which changed the world and everything in it.
So, okay, I'm going to give you a little history, right? So, do you believe that Adam and Eve were the only two people in the world?
No, I can't say that.
So, no. So, that's the thing. We've only seen the videos of Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve was in a protected garden away from every other human being. So, God didn't, if you actually read the Bible and the creation, God created humans and then he created Adam and Eve. Because they weren't mating with each other. When they cast out, there was already human beings on the planet.
I would
So-
disagree with you on that because I know what you're talking about,
Well,
and I would
who
say that
was
that's not
Cain's
what the
sister?
Bible. I would say that God created the earth and created the garden, and when he created the earth, he made Adam. But then when he made the garden, he took Adam and placed it into the garden, and you can read that as God creating two different types of people. But I would say that it was just God created the earth with Adam, then created the garden, and then just took Adam and put him.
It
in
says
the garden.
God created humans.
Let me see it.
Yeah. It'll be in the in his creations. So God didn't create just Adam and Eve. God created other humans too. Adam and Eve were the gardeners of his garden. They had a specific job to do, which was tend to my garden and don't touch of the tree of knowledge. And if you do touch of the tree of the knowledge, you will be cast out and sent into the world. And then he said, "Be fruitful, multiply." Who's Adam and Eve's sister? Who's Cain and Abel's sister? Can anyone name her sister, please? Nobody, right?
No.
So no one's heard of his sister, right?
No, it just says, "Let us make man in our image." It doesn't say humans.
I mean, what do you want to?
Human.
That's what I mean. Like, I mean,
So,
I
let us
don't
make-
see how you could take that as
So-
him making different. Like that.
Alright,
That's just making man in the first place.
I'll show you my Bible.
But what is the what encompasses man?
Because then you talk about Lilith and
Oh, Adam and Lilith.
yeah, and Adam and Lilith was the second woman,
Yeah.
and she was outside the world, and
Mhm.
I mean, it might not be in that certain type of.
The
What do you
Vatican.
think about
The Vatican's Bible.
Just out of curiosity, Jimmy, what do you think about when it comes to the books of like Enoch and Jasher, and what do you think about those books?
I don't read it.
No.
I trust in my faith
Yeah.
in Jesus Christ, and to be honest, anything before that is really just history.
Can I ask, what led you to your faith in Jesus, if you don't mind me asking?
Just living life and doing what Jesus pretty much said, and noticing that if I listen to Jesus, and how many times have I said "Think and Grow Rich"?
Yeah. Well, he's saying like
That comes
what
from-
led you to find him, in that
Well-
sense. Like what epiphany happened that says I want to start believing, I
Okay,
want to start
so-
reading.
Just like in the last podcast I was in, I was bad. I was crazy. Like I was just was going down the wrong path, and I read all of Romans is a good one. You know what I'm saying? But I stopped reading the Old Testament. It's just full of violence and unnecessary history. You know what I'm saying? It's great to read it, to know it. You know what I'm saying? But when I went into the New Testament, I really learned how to be a human being.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? How to, what is the fruits that I need to have to be righteous, and how I should think in order to be, you know what I'm saying, a Christian. You know what I'm saying? I looked at the life of Jesus and how he was on his path. You know what I'm saying? And if you listen to the parables that he was talking about and you dissect them, I've noticed that those parables can be applied. And
They ring true to
and they
today.
can. I've never found a lie
Yeah.
in Jesus Christ and His Word
That's
from the
facts.
Bible. And I always challenge myself that if I can find a lie, then it's not true.
Yeah, it's not.
So I haven't found a single lie yet in the New Testament about Jesus Christ. So I've continued to follow him because I haven't found a lie that really just says he's wrong.
Sensational.
So that's like the purest antidote to human suffering that you could really get to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just his word. You know.
So here you go right here. Then God said, "Let us make humans in our image, in our likeness." So
What
and
verse
that
is it?
and
But
that was
again,
that was by itself.
That's the same verse that I'm reading, but
No,
it's
it's
just
not.
a different translation.
No, it's not. It's
what
not.
verse is that?
So I'm gonna read the whole thing.
Wait, what
Uh,
chapter and verse is that, though?
It's chapter 1. I think you scrolled up too far.
Could have been a modernized version of it.
AI version.
AI
maybe,
version.
I don't know.
It could, because they always interpret it different ways, just so.
Because if that's chapter 1, verse 26, that's the same verse.
All right,
I'm
so
looking at.
so let me read this all. All right. So we know that Adam and Eve was created, and God was specifically in the creation of Adam and Eve, right?
Mm.
So let me read this. Then God said, "Let us make humans in our image, in our likeness. Let them rule the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, domestic animals all over the earth, and all the animals that crawl on the earth." So God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them. He created them male and females. Now, when did he create Eve?
Later on.
Later on.
Later on.
So he already created them male and female. And God blessed them and said, "Be fertile, increase in numbers, fill the earth, and be its master. Rule the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that crawl on that earth." God said, "I have given you every plant with seeds on the face of the earth. This will be your food. I have given you all green plants as food to every land animal, every bird in the sky, and every animal that crawls on the earth, and every living, breathing animal." And so it was. And God saw everything that he had made, that was it, and that it was very good. There was evening, then morning, the sixth day. And then as you go on, heaven and earth, and then there's a whole different chapter
I got you.
on the creation. Chapter 2 was the creation of man and woman. This is the account of heaven and earth, and when they were created at that time, when the Lord God made heaven, earth, and heaven, wild bushes and plant. I'm just going to keep reading until we get to Adam and Eve. So there was a river that flowed from the Eden, from the garden. Then the Lord God took the man. Okay, so the name of this segment, we'll talk about this, is whatever. But it says, "Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden." So he took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden, and Eden, to form the land and to take care of it. The Lord God commanded the man. He said, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must never eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because when you eat from it, you will certainly die." Then the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is right for him." Then the Lord God, like I said before in the AI thing, he formed all the wild animals and all the birds out of the ground and blah, 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 blah. So he created...
So you're just reading like a modern day interpretation of it compared to what
So-
you're reading.
But is that the same?
But it's an interpretation. You can read it from any which way. God didn't create... God didn't put Adam into the garden until...
They already
Genesis.
created. You're just saying you just
The
took him
second-
and put
yeah.
him in the garden.
Yeah, so the first chapter, he talks about the creation. It's literally the creation.
See, now you got this man thinking.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here. You know, even in the new... Let's go to the New King James.
You have a different
So it's like,
You have a different version?
what Bible do
thought
you
process?
listen to? Because like you said, you just said that Martin Luther King translated the Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, whatever, he translated the Bible. So are you opposed to other translations now, or are you just...
I am opposed to a couple different translations.
So what translation did you just read from?
the translations that I like is the NASB 1985, the ESV, and I do like
ASV or ESV?
ESV.
Alright, let me see if I can find the ESV.
ESV, NASB,
Alright, I found
1985, and then King James Version as well.
So in the ESV it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness,
so-
and let them have dominion." So it still says that in the first chapter.
Well, because if you think about it, they sometimes say "son of man,"
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
man can mean humanity.
So no, it doesn't. It says then. I'm reading the ESV. This is what
No,
it
no,
says.
I'm saying man can mean humanity.
Oh yeah. Then God said, "Let us make man." No, it says female and male. Yeah.
Male,
It does,
yeah.
yeah. So it says in chapter 27, says, "So God created man in his own image, the image of God he created him, male and female he created them." So that's even in the
them.
ESV.
Them,
So
because
that's even in the ESV. So God
them
created-
already tells you.
So 26, God says to himself, the word, that we're going to create something, and then God created the man. So
Okay.
God created the man of his own image. So like I said, we're clone copies of God. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. So he created him, male and female. So female is the image of God, and male is the image of God.
And then this is before Eve.
This is before Adam
This
and
is
Eve.
before
Yep,
Adam
this
and
is
Eve.
Adam and Eve, and then on the next one, we go to the next chapter, and we go to then we go into the woman. So in the rib that so mind you, he already created man, he already created female and whatever, but I guess this one he goes into detail about whatever. So the Lord God took the man and put him in and mind you, he didn't create the man, he took the man. So he probably already created the man and females, and he took this man and he put him into it. But Eve was made from his rib or whatever. But all I'm saying is that human beings were already on the world. We just don't know what they were doing in that time. Were they still? Because was God still appearing to those people, or was he only appearing to Adam? We only see God appearing to Adam in the first Testament, in the first Genesis. You know what I'm saying? So like I told you, God appointed gods over different people. You know what I'm saying? God was only the God of Hebrew people. You know what I'm saying? So what did other people worship? You know what I'm saying? Are they just left stranded to just worshiping the clouds and the stars? No. God, there was, like I said, there might be a realm that gods are able to talk to, because mind you, sons of gods was angels. And the angels found love, like they found interest in
Humans.
the humans, the females humans, and they made it with them, and they created giants, and the giants was actually revered.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got angels in that realm that they're serving. I mean, angels have power.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Angels are the son of God.
He has an army.
It says in the Bible that angels are the son of God.
What you got,
You know what's
David?
crazy about angels too? I always thought this was really interesting, but so when it comes to I remember growing up as a kid, and I'd always hear about the Roman gods, the Greek gods, the Norse gods, different things like that, right? So when I was a kid growing up, because I was raised in the faith, so I was told that those gods weren't real and those gods were fake, right? So then I get older and I started thinking about it, and I was like, wait a minute.
Research.
These people formed their entire societies and cultures around these gods.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something. It's got to and they were doing things because in their minds the god was blessing them with land,
I
with
think it was the angels.
with
Yeah.
food.
No, it was.
So,
it was.
Yeah. So what I think it is I think when it comes to these, because the other interesting thing about the Roman, all these gods, they're very similar to each other.
It says it in the Bible.
Yeah,
that
the Greek, the Roman.
The Greek
Guys,
and Roman gods,
think
they're
about
so
the Greeks.
similar.
Think about the Greeks.
Kratos.
Zeus or who's the other one that's just like Odin?
Odin.
Zeus and Odin. They represent Lucifer.
Well,
Because of lightning, Satan fell from heaven like lightning.
Holy shit.
I want to say
He's
Lucifer.
the god of the
Oh,
fallen
The
gods.
fallen gods.
I want to say Lucifer. I would think they represent God. Zeus will represent God because he was the king of the angels or whatever. I don't think Lucifer was the king of the angels.
But the other thing that's interesting about not Zeus but Odin is, you notice how Odin has one eye? Remember the all-seeing eye?
The all-seeing eye. Like you guys said, there's always truth to.
Well, the all-seeing eye was in the Medusas. The Medusas had the all-seeing eye. They had one of them, right?
Yeah, one of
Medusas?
them.
No, not the Medusas. It was the three sisters. What did you call them?
I call them
The Harpies?
oracles.
No, the Oracles.
The Oracles.
The Oracles.
They
There
have
we
the
go.
all-seeing eyes as well.
Yeah.
The Oracles.
But the thing is, guys, it says in the Bible that the Son of God found favor in the females and they made it with them.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta understand that them motherfuckers was
Like I said,
they're gods.
Nephilim.
They're
Nephilim.
gods. I mean,
And, like-
when you're coming down and you're mating with females, like
You super
you're,
kids.
You're
Yeah.
the angel itself is probably in that picking out like which ones,
Right.
and he's just showing why he should be dominant and mate with these females, and he's showing all these powers, and people bow down to that,
Right.
and they give them the beautiful wives. Whereas you got Greek gods and Greek this and that, and you got other
Norse
gods, Roman gods.
Roman
They
gods.
made it.
Well, it's like what Zeus used to do.
And they
turn
did,
into
they
their
said it.
turn into their
that's
husband
the
and have
thing.
sex
Like
with the women.
that.
Yeah.
That's prevalent in all like ancient
Yeah.
mythology.
Text and
And
translation.
You see what I'm
yeah.
saying?
the Bible said it first.
Right. Bible said it first, and that's in all like ancient mythology
Yeah.
where you see these gods, which are low key angel.
What's crazy about it too is like a lot of religions stem from ancient Babylonian religion. So like basically like I think I told you guys about this story, but like with Nimrod and Ishtar.
Mm-hmm.
So Nimrod was the original sun god, and Ishtar was the moon goddess. So like in the beginning, Nimrod became the king of Babylon, and this was after Noah. So like they were all supposed to split up and depart, but Nimrod was like, "No, let's all group up together and let's make a city for Babylon that'll reach to the heights."
To the
So through the process of him reigning, he becomes deified. Well, actually, this is how he becomes deified. He gets killed by a boar. Now, at the time, only a man can rule the kingdom, right? Now, he had a son, but he was a baby, so he wasn't old enough to rule the kingdom. So Ishtar was at risk of losing the kingdom. So she comes up with a little fable, and she says that her son is the reincarnation of Nimrod. And Nimrod becomes deified in that moment because now he's the sun god and he's a constant reincarnating god. And that's how she keeps her power. And so he's still a baby, so he's not old enough to lead yet. So while she still has a couple of years before he becomes king, she tricks the people into thinking that she's the moon goddess. And then what's interesting is like if you see in a lot of, especially like new age stuff, you see a lot of the sun god and the moon goddess.
god, facts.
You see a lot of like witchcraft, you see a lot of the moon goddess, the sun god. But it's interesting, there's a lot of connections to a lot of these different religions
That's
or a lot
nice.
of these different teachings.
So I have a question now.
What's
You know
up,
what I'm saying? I feel like we've been still answering the question about the AI and the AI going to benefit
Rabbit hole.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Full
just,
circle.
so just
Full
to get
circle,
back,
yeah,
just to
yeah,
get
yeah.
back into that. So let me ask you this: what happens when maybe one of your, cause like one of the things that you feel might be a conspiracy or whatever, because I think Neil deGrasse Tyson spoke about this the most, and he said to worry about something. I think they was talking about UFOs, and do you think that the government is hiding UFOs? And Neil deGrasse basically said that I wouldn't question whether there's UFOs. I would question why do they need an answer, or why do they think that there's a UFO? Why do they feel like there's a conspiracy in the government to do a UFO? And it's like, what I want to know is what happens when some of your fears or whatever get debunked. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you heard about the 5G thing.
Yeah.
What was your
Cancer.
what was your first thoughts about it? Like, be honest. Like, what was your first thought?
I mean, well, when it comes to the 5G technology, I still can't give a valid answer because I haven't done enough due diligence and research on 5G to really tell you if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my answer to 5G.
Were you kind of like embedded in some of the things that they were saying? Like, did you know about some of the stuff? that they
Oh
were saying?
no, it was definitely I was hearing concerning things, but like you have to always like read between the lines at the same time because there's always fear mongering and there's always like fear is a powerful tool because if people can make you afraid and make you live in fear, you're the easiest to control in that state of mind.
I love how you said that, because then that gets me into the idealism about the devil, Satan.
Okay.
So what do you think about Satan? Do you think Satan is real?
I think he's real and I think he is a very important part in humanity's lives.
Do you think Satan is doing a majority of the things that's going on?
I think Satan is doing the will of God.
The will of God
The will of God.
is not. No, Satan wouldn't be doing the will of God.
I disagree with you on that.
Yeah, let's go into that.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Why do you disagree?
I disagree because without Satan, mankind wouldn't even have free will or the ability to choose. Satan was a tool. Because, like, when you look at it from the surface value, if you look at it through black and white, it's like, oh, God can't use Satan because he's evil. Well, it's like, well, hold on for a second. What makes you think that God can't take evil and actually use it for good purposes?
Yeah.
So I think that God uses demons, God uses Satan, God uses destruction in people's lives to teach them certain lessons that they couldn't learn without going through those experiences. Or, like, again, with, like, Satan. Because of Satan, like, it's not like God didn't realize that Satan was going to go to the earth and Satan was going to trick man and, like, all of this was going to happen. Like, obviously God knew that Satan was going to do that mankind was going to fall. Like, if he didn't know that was going to happen, he wouldn't have even let this course of action run its place.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, like every single thing that God has created has a specific purpose. I mean, like, even in Romans 9, when it talks about God makes vessels for destruction, and God also makes vessels for mercy.
I'll have to read that entirety.
Well, here, let me, because this is actually.
Well, before we go on to that, I want to talk about God's will, because you said that. First off, you said that. What did you say? You said without Satan coming into
there's
the
no
world.
free will.
First off, that's literally a contradiction to what free will is.
How so?
What is free will?
Exactly. Free will is you're not a robot. You're not programmed to just be a gardener in the
Wait,
garden.
but how is that a contradiction?
Because if there was no free will, there's no way Satan can tempt Adam and Eve to eat of the garden, of the apple. That is what the definition of tempting is.
No, he agrees. He's basically saying.
Well,
He's saying because of Satan, there is.
No, he didn't say
the
that.
fact that he tempted.
Oh,
like temptation.
Okay.
There's no such thing.
The
God
like
it's embedded.
God has always given man free will. You know what I'm saying? And you got to remember that evil. You know what's funny? Evil is just it's the opposite of knowledge. It's the opposite of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So evil only, if you think about everything that is evil in this world, all of it is because there is an absence of knowledge.
Ignorant.
So let me give you an example, right? So say you're walking down the street and you're trying to find your friend, all right? So you're walking down the street and there's an alley, okay? And you go down that alley, your friend isn't there. Is that evil? Did you sin? No, you didn't, because you just didn't know it wasn't there, right? So if you keep walking down the alley, you know what I'm saying, you find a dead end. Do you turn back around, or do you just try to keep going through the alley? You just turn back around.
Yeah.
Say you're going down another alley, and maybe this alley, you didn't know that this alley has a pitfall, and you walking down the alley, it's dark, and you fall down and you die. Did you sin?
No.
Are you evil now because you went down the wrong alley?
But again, I'm still confused why what I said is a contradiction. I'm sorry, I'm lost.
So imagine that this alley had a guy named Jesus on it.
Okay.
There's a guy named Jesus on this alley. All you're trying to do is find Jesus. Now, if you're walking down certain alleys and certain paths and trying to find Jesus, you might go down the wrong alley. You might go down the wrong alley as well. You might go down the wrong alley. So how are you going to get to Jesus? Well, you're going to have to know the knowledge of where Jesus is to go down to the right alley. You know what I'm saying? Until you have that knowledge, you are going to go down wrong alleys.
But again, like that still doesn't negate what I'm saying, because Satan was put, like, again, they didn't sin, or they didn't even think of taking the apple until Satan tempted them.
Satan himself, if God created his own angels with free wills,
he did, and that's why they rejected. It talks about it in Revelations. A third of them rejected God and came down with Satan.
So why wouldn't he create human beings already with free will? So the reason we have free will isn't because of Satan. We was already genetically embedded with free will. Because if Satan commanded you to, not Satan, if God commanded you to
Okay,
just,
I get what you're saying with that, but again, that still doesn't negate the fact that even
But
though God instilled free will in us to begin with, God used Satan as a tool
God
to
never
enact.
used Satan. It was
What
the
do you
lack
mean?
of. It was the lack of knowledge.
I disagree with you on that. I don't see
Because you're
how-
not understanding it. You don't understand.
I
So
think
just
I'm
take
understanding
just take
it,
the
but
time.
I don't
Let
agree
me-
with that.
So let me explain it to you. Let me get you to hear what I have to say into
Yeah, go ahead.
entirety. So what you don't understand is the lack of knowledge that we have as a human being. Okay, Satan himself came down to the garden, snuck his way in as a snake while God wasn't looking, and was able to convince Eve.
Okay, see, but right there, I disagree. Like, to say that God didn't realize Satan was in the
Exactly.
garden, I find that to be a genuine, ridiculous statement to make. God is all-knowing.
But aren't there areas God
okay,
can't see?
No, you gotta listen to
Because
him.
then the Bible is untrue. Either God's all-knowing
No,
or he's not
no,
all-knowing.
because you're misinterpreting. It's not that you're misinterpreting. It's just you don't understand it. An all-knowing thing doesn't mean that you can predict the future. Okay, so we already know that we can't predict the future. In fact, it's scientifically proven that we cannot travel into the past. Okay, so it's scientifically proven that we cannot travel into the past, because then we will be able to interact with our own timeline in the future. Therefore, you get the grandfather paradox, and you
But
can't do that.
The
So
God
let
is
me-
outside of time. God doesn't even apply by
Okay,
the rules of time.
So at the same time, what you're trying to say is that you think that God knew in advance
yeah.
that Satan was going to come in and
Yes.
do all. So you believe that. See, that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. You believe that God knew that
Satan.
everything that has happened, like Moses, the people of Israel, Noah.
Yeah.
You got to understand that God had many regrets. And throughout the Bible, he has regretted doing things that he's done. In order to regret something, you can't know what's going to happen.
I disagree with you on that.
You have to look at the definition of regret.
No. I
Doing
disagree with
something
you on
that-
because you can do something that you know is right, but you still regret it because you've caused pain to people
But
that you love.
But the thing with regret is that you can't control the past. You can't control the future.
But that one statement you just made, like, just because you regret like something doesn't mean it was a bad thing.
You regret something because you could have done something different. That's what regret is. If I drink a soda and it tastes spoiled, I'm going to regret drinking it. But if I know that the soda is spoiled, I am not going to drink it. If I punch you in the face and I feel bad, I'm going to regret doing it. But I am not going to, I don't know, I'm not giving you a reason why.
But if I know you're going to punch me in the face.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it if I know I'm going to feel bad later. And therefore, feeling bad is a sin. Okay? So anytime that you regret something, you've obviously sinned. You know what I'm saying? And the definition of sin is the absence of knowledge. Now, what is God?
All knowledge.
All knowledge. So therefore, God cannot sin. However, he cannot predict the future. The things he does in the moment, present time, is never going to be a sin, because he is all knowledge and he knows what he's doing and that he's not going to sin. So it's not the fact that God knows that he's going to regret punching you. He's not going to punch you at all, because he knows that is a sin and it's not right to do so. It's not that God is it's just, you got to understand, God doesn't do anything that is a sin later on. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to eat, if he was in this sense, that's what Jesus actually came down on earth to prove, that he could not sin. You couldn't find any fault in Jesus, but everyone still found a way to hate him. You know what I'm saying? If you want to use Jesus as a perfect example, Jesus came down and never committed a single sin, but everybody thought he said. You got to remember, he picked up a lamb in the middle of a hole on the Sabbath day, and people called that a sin, but God knew that wasn't a sin. He had to change people's belief. You know what I'm saying? So your perception of a sin isn't entirely.
See, I would disagree with you on that, and I think that statement is wrong. And I would say that statement's wrong because to say that sin is the lack of knowledge, like that's wrong.
What is sin?
You can't even sin without knowing the law, and it
You
says
have-
that in Romans. We
What-
only know what sin is because the law told us what sin is. So if you don't have knowledge
Exactly.
to the law, you
That's
can't
what
sin.
it is. Yes, that's what it is. You did not know what sin was until you were taught it. Until
Exactly.
you attained the knowledge.
Exactly.
So in that time, there was no knowledge of what sin was.
But to say that sin is the lack of knowledge, that statement isn't true.
Well, what is the Ten Commandments?
The Ten Commandments are the laws that God gave humanity to live their lives.
Not humanity, Israel.
That God gave Israel.
That God gave Israel to live in the promised land.
But again, just that one statement you made, that sin is the lack of knowledge, like that's not a true
well,
statement.
well, I just said that what is the Ten Commandments? The Ten Commandments is basically a rule book of how a human being, an Israelite, is to live in the promised land.
No, I understand that, bro. But again, like we're going through circles because the only point I'm making with this, I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but I'm just disagreeing with you on the one point that you said, not having knowledge is sin.
Exactly.
That's not sin. Having the knowledge of sin and committing a sin is sin.
So it's like when God told Eve not to eat the apple, she had the knowledge not to eat it,
Yep.
but she ate it anyway.
She
Yes,
sinned.
because God already told
That's what
her
he's saying.
not
Yep, and
to
she
do
sinned.
it.
Yes, see, that is called a sin. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because she knew.
Yeah.
But that's what he's saying. He's
But
agreeing with you.
she applied sin and free. She applied knowledge and free will.
Free will.
Mm.
So God. So what happened after that? She was punished, right? Severely. If I guarantee you this, if you told Eve, you eat of this apple, guess what's gonna happen? Your man's gonna be your dominion. You're gonna it's
Painful
gonna
birth.
be a painful ass birth. Give Eve a painful birth first before she knew the apple.
Before she ate
You know what I'm
the
saying?
apple, word.
I guarantee
Well, she wouldn't
you.
feel any pain,
Well,
though.
what do you think would happen if she was able to go into the future and look at how much it's gonna hurt to have a childbirth, or that she's not gonna be equal to man, or that she's gonna be, you know what I'm saying, all the other stuff that God punished the woman, and God punished Adam too,
yeah.
but he punished Eve more harshly. What do you think Eve would have done if she knew exactly what was gonna happen?
Probably wouldn't eat the
Nah,
apple.
he died.
What did I say? Knew, right? What is the
Mhm.
form of knew? No.
No.
What is the whatever of know? Knowledge. If she had the knowledge of the effect of her sin, she wouldn't have done it. However, she is not all knowledge. There's only one being that is all knowledge, and that one being cannot commit sin. However, there is free will. You can regret a decision, but at the same time, you don't have to sin. So God creating human beings
So you're saying it's a
is.
choice?
Are you saying that God sinned by committing a human being?
No, because he knew.
No, absolutely not.
Because he knew he was
'Cause
going
he
to do
knew what
that.
he
It wasn't a thing, because when you create something, whenever you create something new, you don't know how it's gonna run. So there is no actual knowledge of that thing. For us.
Okay.
You give something free will, you can't control that. God cannot control free will. We know that. We've known that God can't create control free will. God has always
Well, that
always
statement,
told
I
us.
would totally disagree with.
God cannot control free will.
Yes, he can. God is the only one that. I'll show you
God
right
cannot
now.
control free will.
In Daniel, it talks about.
God can harden hearts.
No, God, no, dude. In Romans 9, it literally talks
Yeah.
about God having complete dominion. Romans 9 and Daniel, when King Nebuchadnezzar literally was the king of the entire world, and because he wasn't listening to God, God gave him a year and said, dude, if you don't shape up, I'm going to turn you into a beast for 7 years. He went completely against the free will of, and then Nebuchadnezzar
So,
even
what are you
said,
saying?
there is no man that can go against the will of God.
Did I say that any man can go against the will of God, or did I say that God cannot control the will of man?
That's what did I just say though? He
So-
literally said that no man can go against the will
So,
of God. So that tells
where
you
do you
right
think
there that God
the
has will over
The
anyone.
will of God is that, first off,
How do you?
yeah, I know, right? So first off, what did God tell Nebuchadnezzar? He said that if you
Well, hold
don't,
on, let me pull it up.
if
Let me
you
pull up
don't
the
do
actual-
something, this is going to happen. All right. So he gave Nebuchadnezzar what's going to happen. Now, because God has said that this is going to happen, if Nebuchadnezzar,
But it wasn't
doesn't,
his choice for either of those things to happen. So that's him not having a free will.
why
in
would
that sense.
so? Let me ask you this: why would God have to tell Nebuchadnezzar then that if you do this, this is going to happen?
Did he do something?
Because God is
Why would
God
he
is,
have to do
has a
that?
certain purpose
If he
that
can
he
control
is trying.
free will,
Because right there in that situation, he's teaching mankind that, look, I have free will over all of you, and what I say goes, and there's nothing you can do to go against me if I deem it so.
Awesome.
That was the point of that story.
Romans.
I think you're misunderstanding what
I don't think I'm here. Let me read it, man, because I really don't see.
You're contradicting yourself because
I'm not
you keep
contradicting
saying.
myself.
So what I just said was God cannot control our free will. It said that
That's not. I said God can. God has complete dominion over all. God is the only one with
God
freedom.
cannot make me. For instance, if I say to God, I'm not going to do something, right? Guess what? If I don't do this, I'm going to be punished. But God cannot make me do something that Jonah.
He's not
What
controlling.
happened with
your
Jonah in the well? How many times did Jonah run away from God's
But look
commandments?
what happened to Jonah. He got swallowed. He got thrown overboard,
Yes,
swallowed
yes,
by a fish, and brought
yes,
to the place that
yes,
God made
yes,
him go to.
and
That
why?
wasn't Jonah's choice.
No,
Jonah chose to run away.
Exactly.
Tried everything in his
He
power.
had every free will to
Okay,
run.
so
But he was.
okay.
I
I
see.
see
Yes,
where
Jonah
this is-
ran, of
okay.
course. He definitely ran.
He's basically
God
saying
is going against your free
Decisions,
will,
yes.
your decisions,
Mhm.
but
By
you
pun-
had the free by punishing you.
Yep, by
But
punishing.
you, up until that point, you had
Until
the
you
free
learn.
will, knowing the consequences.
Yep.
You used your
Your
own
own
free
free
will
will
to go
go
against
against God.
God's greater will.
Greater will.
But then what happened? God forced you to still do His will.
Yeah, he
That's
does.
the
Yeah,
point I'm
That's-
making.
Yeah, he definitely did.
But so then right there you can't say that, oh, if God forces me to do something, I cannot. Like, no.
Well, I didn't say that God cannot. I didn't say anything about God forcing you. You have your free will to go against God, but you will be punished
You will be
until
punished.
you are suffered out.
Right.
And you're like, God damn it, I gotta fucking do it.
So I see what
You
you're
know what I'm
saying.
saying?
All right, listen
So-
to this. This is King Nebuchadnezzar talking. This is after he was lived for a beast for 7 years, and this
All
was
right,
the
yeah.
king of the world talking to us. He goes, "For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, but he does according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and no one can ward off his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?'" So, like, right there, bro. I mean, how can you read that and say that God can't make anybody do what he wants?
Because-
that's what it just said.
Because what was Lot's?
How would you interpret that any other way?
Unless he already knows the outcome, and then he just makes you think that you can do whatever you want.
No, the free will. The thing is, you have to separate the will of God and free will. You are, without a shadow of doubt, able to do whatever you want in your own free. You have the free will to do whatever you want. All right. But if God says you're going to do something and you're gonna do whatever that, you got to remember, God can still change how He said or how He does. Because we just talked about this. God told Moses to take your ass down there and perform
Get
and
your
do
people in
whatever.
line.
But Moses said, "I don't want to do it."
I don't
I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But God was able to change something where He said, "Okay, well, I'll send Aaron with you." God was gonna wipe out. How many times God was gonna wipe out the
He's
people
like,
of
I'm
Israel?
tired of you.
I mean, how many? God said, "I'm going to wipe out the people," and Moses had to beg him to not wipe out the people of Israel. You know what I'm saying? God can change His mind entirely about things that He's done unless He actually says that, "Hey, if you don't do this or if that happens, I'm going to do it," and then there's nothing else you can do about it. But you still have the free will of choosing and choice, whatever. You're still going to be punished. You got to remember that Adam and Eve had the free will to eat of anything. God just told them, "Don't eat of the apple because you will surely die." And
So what you're saying is the free will was already there before they ate the fruit.
The free will was there, and Satan just manipulated and was able to get Eve to eat of the apple. You know what I'm saying? If you fall, God, it's not like God, Eve didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Eve knew. And
It's not like you're a puppet.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he
You're not
has
a
you
puppet.
on a.
You can't.
He will just change the circumstances to get you to where he wants to get you.
He will punish you as much as humanly possible that he can punish you.
And also, he'll give you.
He will break your will.
He will
He will
Yes.
break your
And
will.
any human being can do that, by the way. It's
And
not just
he'll kind of tell you something and see what
seen
this
torture
is.
movies?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not that hard to break a human
Yeah.
being's will. So
It's
can I
really-
control you if I
Yeah,
control you if I water get? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, God was. You gotta understand. God was putting these motherfuckers in wells. I'm not. I'm done. I can't do it no more. Hey, you know, peace out. I had enough of that.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
what was he eating? You know what I'm
Dog.
saying? Yeah, bro.
Dog.
He can break my. So what you gotta understand is God can break it,
He
and
will
He's
break
done.
wills.
If you want to go against His will, you are free to do so. But good luck.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck.
Cause he gonna
You know what I'm
throw it.
saying?
He gonna throw the
'Cause
whole sink at you, boy.
Because it's just like with any kid. I mean, you got kids that don't want to listen. That don't.
Right.
Well, guess what? Bah! You just
Right.
bah!
Break 'em
bah! Bah!
Break 'em
All right,
in.
do it again. And they do. They do.
They do.
I mean,
They'll do it
you
again.
like what? You ain't get enough of this yesterday.
They'll do it again.
Like, God
Nah,
damn.
that's
Until they
bad.
learn,
These
yeah.
kids got hard heads. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's free will at its finest.
Look at your kids.
Yeah.
Can
Look
you
at your kids.
look at your kids? You know what I'm saying? Even with the story with
funny.
the man that had kids, and the man went out and spent all his money, and his father, he came back to his father, and his father was open handed. My son has returned. You know what I'm saying? Even in that story, he went against his father, went out on the road, got fucked, and came back. Poor, dragged on the ground on his last bootstrap, and his father says, "I'm just glad my son has returned." You know what I'm saying? So yes, God has all saying what was going to happen, and He knows how to do it and how to. But you still have that free will to be able to do it or not do it. But good luck not doing it. You know what I'm saying?
I see your perspective.
Good luck not.
You're,
but he
so
does not-
you're basically just saying
Same
that
with-
we've always had it,
and
and then
he-
you're basically
he's
saying that
done
we
it-
got it when the devil.
Because the devil himself had to go against God. You know what I'm saying? So if the angels, the sons of God, can go against God.
So you're saying all the angels had free will too?
All the angels still do.
Yeah.
They still do. They just love. A lot of the angels just love God so
worship
much
God.
that that's what angels are.
Right.
Angels were sons of God. That
I got
you
a
know what I'm
question
saying?
for you, Jimmy, about the angels. Why do you think? Well, actually, two questions, Jimmy. The first question is, why did God not give the angels the ability for redemption, like He gave humans? What is the? And then the second thing is, like there's a verse where it says, like David's talking to God, and he says, "Who is man that you are so mindful of him?" Like what is so special about humanity that God gives him that redemption?
No, give us the generic
What
answer.
what does He see in
He
us?
loves
Well,
them.
first it stems off of one. He found favor in certain human beings that He found a lot of love. We have many examples of Noah. He was going to wipe out human beings until he found Noah. You know what I'm saying? And then he found Eli. I think he actually took one of them up.
I think that was Elijah.
Elijah. He took Elijah. He's like, yo, bro, you.
Yeah.
Oh, you goated. Let's
Come
go.
here.
Come up here, boy.
Yeah. Took him up. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
he
saying?
did.
You got God loves His creation. I mean, if I said a good example with dogs. If Bruno can talk, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's like one of your babies, you know, if you can create something like one of these to just be able to have his own free will and you just watch.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying? It's your creation.
I made you.
But the thing is, like, the angels and us, we're both creations. We both have free will. So
Where in the
what's
Bible?
different?
Where in the Bible does God create angels?
In the beginning, in Genesis, when He created the sons of heaven.
Does it really say the sons of heaven?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it said that.
Well, hold on, let me fact check myself.
I don't
loving
believe.
this.
I don't
This is
believe
amazing.
that,
This is
bro.
amazing.
Yeah,
the Bible goes into
You
angels.
gotta be careful. We're about to hit that 2 hour mark.
Okay, so in the beginning, He creates, let there be light. God said the
Well,
light was good,
152.
separate light from the darkness. God said, let there be expanse. God called it down. Okay, so He makes the earth first. Let there be lights.
So I'm gonna save you. God, it doesn't show in the Bible where God. We don't know if
Word,
God
yeah.
created the angels or not. We just don't have that.
So they could just be from another
We
realm.
just don't
or
have.
something.
We just don't have the information. You know what I'm saying?
It's just not.
God created the universe. He created the earth.
Holy
But we,
shit, bro. I think you're right.
we don't.
Holy
we
shit.
don't- We don't know. We
Are
don't
you
know what
serious?
was outside of that. We don't know if the angels came in or was with. We just don't know. We
Or they
just-
already
well,
existed.
So are there other?
They
No,
only say
one-
the angels as the sons of God. That's
Only-
all we know about.
Only thing we do know is we know that the sons of heaven were with, because there's a different verse in the Bible in the Old Testament where the sons of God were watch and wisdom. Like wisdom is talked about as like a spirit, as a female.
Yeah.
And wisdom was with God when he was creating everything and was
Mhm.
rejoicing with the sons of heaven. So they were with him, but you're right. It doesn't say
When he created.
So-
when he
Yeah,
created.
I would
them.
be careful with the creation of angels by God because we just don't. I like to stay into like
Because that's where I asked my brother this question. I'm like,
Yeah, that's a good
because
point.
I always had the preconceived notion that God created the angels. So why would Lucifer, in his right mind, knowing God is so all powerful, even
right,
attempt to challenge
Yeah.
him? You see what I'm saying? Like,
That makes sense.
you see what I'm saying?
Because-
So it's like,
They already existed, and then they just found
Well,
a king
Well, that's
that they
that's
can
what,
rule
so
upon.
so let me ask you this, right? And I'm gonna reiterate what I said before in the podcast before.
Okay.
How different do you think God is from me and from God and you? How different do you think he is?
I think we have a lot.
I want you to paint me. I want you to give me his height. I want you to tell me how he looks. I want to just
Well, number one, he's spirit.
just give me a
Yeah.
picture of what you think God is, like his height, his spirit, his energy,
Well,
like all of it. What do you think of
He's
God?
a spirit, so he doesn't have a physical.
Well, he does.
Jesus does. Jesus was made in flesh, but God the Father is spirit.
No,
So it says God is spirit.
because
It says God's spirit in the Bible, man.
no.
I'll show you right now, dude.
No.
Well, go in depth on what you mean by that.
Before
Yeah.
you open it up, let me
Yeah.
just tell you. So Moses, you know Moses.
Yeah, John 4:24. God is spirit, and worshipers must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Yeah. So, again, I'm sure you know the story about Moses. So God, you cannot look at God's face directly, his physical face.
Just burn your
Yeah.
eyes out.
So Moses really wanted to look at God. So God says, go into a secluded area. It was on the mountain. I think it was on the mountaintops. And God said, I will walk by you. And when I walk by you, you can look at my back. And Moses was able to look at. You got to remember, when Moses was up there, he came down from the mountains with a translucent face because he was actually looking at the presence of God.
Mm.
And the spirit is different from present. Presence is physical.
physical.
But what?
So God can be both spiritual, but he has appeared physical, and he left because obviously of everything that was going on, he left. But God was able to, if you look into, I think it's it might be at the end of Exodus, but God walks by Moses, and Moses turns around and look at the back of God physically.
Now, I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but the way I've always looked at that is, yes, in God's genuine true form, in his spirit form, you can't perceive him. You can't look at him. But I do believe that God can shapeshift into a human body, into a human form that we can't perceive without dying. I think because God did, there is in the Old Testament where God literally sits down and eats with Moses. They eat in a tent. They sit down and they actually break bread together.
Angel.
No, it was God.
It was an angel.
It was specifically God.
And I think that was Jacob.
No.
Oh,
I'm telling
no,
you,
actually,
I'm telling you, it was Moses, and they were in it. No. You're thinking of Abraham with the three guys. This is a different. This is a different one.
No,
bro.
I know, but it was an angel.
It wasn't an angel. I'll show you right now.
Oh, shit.
Because it's really.
I think you're talking about the father and mother of Samuel or Eli, I believe.
It's Exodus 24. Covenant meal with God. Then Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel went up and saw Israel's God under the feet. No. Okay, God didn't harm the Israelite leaders, though they looked at God and they ate and drank.
You have to read the whole context, bro.
This was a covenant meal with God. This is.
You might want to go into the actual Bible verse.
Oh, hold on. Let me pull it up.
Because,
Exodus 24.
yeah.
Let me go from the beginning.
70 people didn't see the face of God.
Then he said to Moses,
70.
"Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab, Ahub, and 70 elders of Israel, and you shall worship at a distance. Moses alone, however, shall come near to the Lord, but they shall not come near, nor shall the people come up with him." Okay, so it's only Moses who can come up. Then Moses came and recounted to all the people the words of the Lord and all the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice. Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. Then he rose early in the morning. With Aaron. Okay, so goes down. Moses went up with Aaron, Nadab, and Ahud, 70 of the elders of Israel. They saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there appeared to be a pavement of sapphire as clear as the sky itself. Yet he did not stretch out his hand against the nobles of the sons of Israel, and they saw God, and they ate and drank. Now the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and remain." So
Now, what you could say is maybe God did the same thing where, again, I don't believe that any man can see the full presence of God, but I do believe that God can veil his entire presence to where it is possible for people to gaze upon him.
I don't think that.
Or do you?
Yeah, I don't think that when you say saw God, I don't believe
that's they're actually saying
They're
like
actually
see.
Oh, okay.
You're right, because Saul. Nah, he's right about that. 'Cause
Holy
you could,
shit.
You could
'Cause
definitely interpret that as something different.
if you look at the only time someone's ever seen God's physical is Moses looking at his back. Let me see, Moses looking at God's. I think it's the end of Exodus, but let me see.
No, who was his name? Job saw God too. He showed up in a
So
woman.
Exodus 33 and 14. Let's go to it real quick. 33. Later. I'm gonna read from the ESV Bible. So.
What we got?
Oh, so it's right here. So Exodus 14. I'm gonna read it real. Actually, I'm gonna have to read it in new. It's just too. Just too. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I'm gonna read in God's word. So 14 said. So Moses says, "If you really are pleased with me, show me your ways that I can know you, and so that you will continue to be pleased with me. Remember, this nation is your people. The Lord answered, my presence will go with you, and I will give you peace." Then Moses said to him, "If your presence is not going with us, don't make us leave this place. How will anyone even know you're pleased with your people and me unless you go with us?" Then, because God was about to descend, he's about to leave. You know what I'm saying? Then it would be different from all of the people on the face of the earth. The Lord answered Moses, "I will do what you have asked." Remember, he's changed. The Lord changes his mind as well. So if you ask, he will do it. So the Lord answered Moses, "I will do what you have asked because I'm pleased with you and I know you by name." Then Moses said, "Please let me see your glory." Whips out the dick.
Oh shit! Fantastic.
The Lord said, "I will let all my goodness pass in front of you, and there I will call out my name, the Lord. I will be kind to anyone I want to. I will be merciful to anyone I want to. But you cannot see my face because no one may see me and live." Then the Lord said, "Look, there's a place near me. Stand by this rocky cliff. When my glory pass by, I will put you in a crevice in the cliff and cover you with my hand until I have passed by." Physically. "Then I will take my hand away, and you'll see my back, but my face must not be seen."
Because he'll die.
So that's what it is. You can see God, but you can't see his face.
Yes.
If you see his face,
You
you
die.
die.
And what I'm saying is also that God is in the spirit because he covers his.
He physically covered.
He physically covered his face.
Now you dissect the book.
Yeah.
Yo, this is.
That's what I'm saying, guys. And
crazy.
that's what I want you guys to understand. Is
Yeah.
you have to be able to
Read
research.
between the lines.
Not even read between. You have to do your own research. You know what I'm saying? So if someone says something, you can't just take it face value, because then unfortunately you'll manipulate the truth, and then you have to go back and. Some people don't do that research. You know what I'm saying? So then you'll be like, oh well, they were able to, and then you'll take it as face value, and then you're like.
What if
okay,
they counter that with, it's
not
faith?
It's not even a counter. It's just.
Well, they like to say it's faith. It's not.
Yeah.
So they don't want to question what the word says.
Yeah.
But you have to. That's why I always say, even with conspiracy. So here's my thing with conspiracy. Like, you gotta understand, people may not know all things because it's the knowledge, bro. It's not that you didn't sin because you didn't know it. It's just you just didn't know it, and it's not your fault. It's just that you have to know what you're saying, and if you don't, it's gonna be something might not be the truth,
Misinterpreted,
and then it can be misinterpreted into other things.
Evil can come out of that.
And it's not evil. Evil is no such thing as evil.
No?
It's no such thing
Okay,
it's no such thing as the God never created evil. Evil is literally, if you look up the definition of evil, you can literally perceive it as the absence of knowledge. All of evil is just the absence of knowledge. So at that point, when we're innocent babies and we don't know what we're doing, are we evil? No,
Yes.
you're not.
Because we're born sinners.
We're born sinners.
No, no.
We're born ignorant.
No,
That's
no,
why we all go to
no.
hell unless you. Because the only way to heaven is through. Like, we're all born into sin because we're all descendants from Adam. So we were. And the only reason. Like, that's the whole reason why Jesus had to come down in the first place was to buy us back. That was the point of his blood. His blood covers over our sins. And that is because the only way we can get to heaven is through Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. So for us to be, what would be the point of Jesus doing all that if we just weren't evil?
Because that's the definition. So Jesus came down not to buy us back,
Whoa, totally disagree with you on that, man.
but to show us the way to live.
No, there's so many verses where it says that he literally bought us back from bondage. We were bondage to sin.
He paid the price. He paid the price.
Yeah, that we couldn't pay because we couldn't live a sinless life.
But that was
So
He
He's
lived
bought
the
us back.
sinless life for
but
us.
if that was the case, he would just come down to earth, someone slits his throat, and that's the price.
No.
So-
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly, right?
No, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. So his death wasn't gonna-
That what I'm saying does make sense. It doesn't not make sense. Like the only reason why Jesus came down in the first place to earth is because in the beginning we sinned, we fell. And literally this whole process of us on earth was for God to bring us back. We can't go into heaven because God cannot be around sinners. God cannot have evil in heaven.
That's not true.
That is true. It talks. What do you,
It takes time. Once I
it's
explain-
not that it takes time,
just-
man. Now
just take this
I
point.
question your
Okay,
interpretation of the Bible.
Okay,
now,
take
man.
this moment now, and in about 10 seconds you're gonna agree with me. Okay, so take this moment. This is a disagreement. In about 15 seconds you're gonna agree with me. All right.
Show us your perspective. Sir.
So first
Tell us
off,
your perspective.
how many ways are there to go to heaven?
What?
Absolutely not.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'll let
dude.
him go through his emotions.
Show me in the Bible where it says
No.
that.
Yeah.
Show me in the Bible where it says that.
It's everywhere.
Show me a verse where it says that.
So
If it's everywhere in the Bible, show me one verse where it says that it is the.
I
There's
can show
only.
you more than one verse. I
Show
can
me,
you-
then pull it up,
So
man, because I
there's-
will show you plenty of verses where the only way to heaven, according to
Elaborate,
the Bible,
Jimmy.
Yeah, elaborate.
So
You're.
there's two ways to go. There's the
We'll
old
see where
way.
you go with this.
There's the old way
Which is
and the new way. Okay.
what's the old way?
The old way is first off, is by the Jews. They have their own Hebrew Bible. We got to remember that the Jews are God's people.
Mhm.
No matter what you can say or whatever you want to say about the Jews,
Yeah.
they are Israelite and they are God's people.
Mhm.
If they want to follow the Hebrew Bible and denounce Jesus, that is entirely their choice.
Mhm.
They have to follow the strict laws of God
Okay.
in order to go to heaven. They do not need Jesus Christ. They can follow the 10 commandments to the strictest of the strictest and use all of the sacrifices.
Okay.
When God created, whenever God spoke, he spoke. So if God said that you should not do this, you should not. You got to remember, Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Have you ever do you know what Leviticus and Deuteronomy are? They are the laws of God. I hate that chapter because all they speak about is the consequences and the laws of God. If you steal from your neighbor, you have to pay a certain amount of money to do that. If you kill a slave, there's a certain amount. It's nothing but, I literally listened to like half of Leviticus and half of Deuteronomy because it's not just the 10 commandments. If you want to actually look at Leviticus and Deuteronomy, they're nothing but the laws of God. And that is a strict law that you have to abide by. However, you can do that if you want to.
Okay.
And that is applied only to the Israelites. The Ten Commandments weren't given to Gentiles. They were only given to the Israelites and the people of Jacob's kinfolks. And they have the Hebrew Bible. You remember, they denounced Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus came down. The purpose of Jesus was for us.
The Gentile.
Was for us. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody else.
For us, and to tell there is a new way to go to heaven. You got to remember, how did you get to heaven before Jesus?
You had to be Jewish, Israelite.
So there's already, and I asked you how many ways are there to go to heaven? You said there's only one. Well, how do you go to heaven?
Again, I completely disagree with what you're saying, because again, the reason Jesus showed up is because the Israelites themselves couldn't fulfill the law. Jesus,
the Ten Commandments?
The Ten Commandments.
Okay.
Yes.
Nobody could fulfill the law. No Jew, no Gentile, no nobody. Jesus was here because Jesus was the only one that could actually pay the debt, that could actually live a sinless life, that could fulfill the law. So when God looks at those who are saved, he doesn't see us, he sees Jesus Christ.
Okay.
That's why we're able to be around God. And
I
then
think he just missed it.
Hold on.
And then continuing off that, also, if you read in Romans chapter 9, like, it clearly states that God specifically goes, well, actually it's Paul talking, but it literally states that God will call those who are my people not my people, and those who are not my people, my people. What he's talking about is the Gentiles. Those who are not the children of God are now able to be the children of God, because the law has been fulfilled. All you have to do is believe in Jesus Christ to save you from... Jew and Gentile is the same thing. We all have to bow down at the feet of Jesus Christ. And Jesus also states in Matthew 6 that nobody knows the Father but the Son, and nobody knows the Son but the Father, and anyone to whom the Son wills to reveal him. And then there's another verse that says, Jesus states that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. So the Father is life. The Father lives in heaven. So the only way to get to the Father is through Jesus, or anyone who Jesus decides to reveal himself to. So if Jesus didn't decide to reveal himself to a Jew, that Jew's not going to get saved. It doesn't matter that they're Jewish. It doesn't matter that they were born a Jew, because they still haven't fulfilled the law.
I'm just so sorry that you had to go through all that. I just said 1,000 times, if you break the law of the tabernacles, there's rules that you have to do to amend it. The Leviticus and Deuteronomy are all the things you have to do.
But you can't do them. That's why Jesus...
Actually, you can't say what you just...
You're talking about in today's society?
You're born into sin.
See, we got to understand something, bro. You just said that you cannot obviously live 100% to the law.
You can't from the beginning.
So I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I don't believe you can. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody can be perfect and live according to law. Which is why there's a whole chapter, 2 chapters actually, of Leviticus and Deuteronomy, which literally lists everything that happens if you break the law and what you have to do to atone it.
And again,
that's why there's
what I just said is Jesus fulfilled the law, so that's irrelevant.
Jesus fulfilled the law for Gentiles and others. And others. Jewish people are always going to be with God.
No, they're not always going to be saved.
They are going to always...
You think that every Jewish person is going to be saved?
Of course not. Jesus killed Jewish people all the time, Israelites all the time. However,
so how does one become saved?
Because the Jews are still God's people.
No, the question is, how does one become saved?
Well, there's 2 ways. Okay, one is that you're a Jew. Okay, so let me ask you.
So
this.
right there again. So you just contradicted yourself. I just asked you. Okay, if you're a Jew,
I'm letting you know.
If you're born a Jew, you're not saved, and then you just contradicted yourself, and you said one of the ways is if you're born Jewish.
Well, I'm.
So is it if you're born Jew or not?
So one of the ways, obviously, is if first off, do you think Jewish follows the Christian Bible?
No,
absolutely not. They
only follow the Torah.
They only in the Torah. The Torah is the Hebrew Bible of the Old Testament. Yes.
No, the
No,
Quran's
the
different.
Quran is.
Oh, that's a different. That's a
The,
different.
the Hebrews follow the Hebrew Testament,
Mhm.
the Old Testament.
Okay.
That's all they follow. They cut off Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, First,
Yeah,
Second
they don't.
Corinthians. They cut
Oh,
off
wow.
all
It's
that.
just the first 5 books.
They only
Really?
follow.
It's
So
the Torah.
they follow those rules.
Mhm.
Okay. So one, if you're born a Jew and have the Torah, there is 2 chapters in there that literally specifically tell you what you have to do if you break a commandment.
Is that what they believe?
That is what they believe, and they are the promised people of God. Now, when you're going to heaven, it isn't just Jesus. First off, Jesus wipes off your name with his blood. However, you still have an account of everything you've done. Now, if you're a Hebrew Jew, you still have the accounts that you have done. However, did you meet those requirements? And if you don't have the blood of Jesus Christ, you're going to be judged intently. You think that every Jew that is on earth on planet is going to go to hell because they haven't? No, there's going to be a couple of them out of there that has been almost close to perfect.
Perfect.
And if they weren't, they can obviously not perfect to sin, but they have their they've been punished or they've been through it, and God will literally be. That's what He's taking. Now, if you have Jesus, go ahead. Yeah, here's a free pass, buddy. Go ahead. You know Jesus. But when it comes to the Hebrews, all right, motherfucker, let me look at everything.
What you?
They got.
There is a book of life out there that God has. You can't expect that.
So I think
only Jesus.
I think you're coming from the perspective of the Jews.
The Jews
compared
have
to
their,
you're coming
their
from a
way,
Christian
and
perspective.
the Christians have their way.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways.
No, but
Either-
that's wrong.
You
The
only
Jews were
believe in
wrong.
Jesus Christ because you're a Gentile.
That's why when Jesus came down and he had such a problem with the Pharisees, because the Jewish people got it wrong.
The Jewish people didn't.
Number one, there wasn't even supposed to be Pharisees and Sadducees in the first place.
There was
It supposed to
always
just-
Pharisees and Sadducees.
No, it wasn't.
There was always kingdoms.
They were the
outside.
Levites. The Levites turned into the Pharisees and Sadducees. They weren't supposed to split off into 2 different
They
factions.
sinned, correct?
That exactly.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Okay.
Even God's people can sin.
Okay, but then again, so let me ask you another question.
Go ahead.
So do you think God's people is just the Jews?
The Hebrews. God's people is everybody under Jacob.
God's people is Israel. Again, what does Israel mean?
That's
Those
just-
who wrestle with God.
That,
So
well, I
isn't
can't.
specific-
I don't. I have to look it up. I
Look
just
that
have
up.
to. I have to look it up. I don't know if that's exactly what it means.
I'm telling you,
But
that's
all
exactly what it means.
I interpret Israel. I don't care. I really don't care about the meaning of Israel. I don't.
You should care about
I
the
don't.
meaning of Israel.
I don't think the definition is entirely. I don't know what the definition is because I haven't looked it up. I can't take you as face value, but I know that God's people, rather the definition of is maybe wrestle with the God's people is the children of Abraham to Isaac to Jacob and his tribe afterwards, and that is the children of God. You know what I'm saying? Esau didn't get his blessing, so Esau's people didn't become the children of God. But Jacob's children is the children of God, and everything under that is his people.
Okay, so let's change topic. I got another question. When it comes to
You guys
the
You guys want to come up with one final question?
Yeah.
I got one more question.
Okay. All right. And then come up with one. Yeah. So you first.
When it comes to the end times, when it comes to Jesus Christ coming back, the Antichrist, and all of that, Jimmy, do you believe that we're in the end times right now, or like, how do you look at all of that and like where we're at with the timeline and everything?
I feel like, unfortunately, I will waste my time wondering if we're in the end times or not. Why would I worry about are we in the end times or not if God specifically says He's the only one that's going to know? So I'm not going to waste my time figuring out if is this the end time or not. I'm just going to live my life as best as I can and accomplish what I can, do what I can, do the good in the
time
world,
that you have,
and just let the time be because we're only just a speck of. We don't know the end times, and I'm not going to speculate. I can't predict it. It's no use of trying to predict what. It's like
driving yourself crazy.
You're going to drive yourself crazy. And there's no use of me trying to say, oh, we might be, because you don't know. And that actually, is why a lot of these forms of religion, especially with the Jehovah Witnesses, and because they always try to get people to, the world's gonna end. What was the next shit?
Yeah, I
called?
noticed them when I'm driving
the,
up and down the
um,
road. They always
What
have
was
that sign
what was
saying
that-
you're gonna
that-
burn
that
in
thing,
hell.
That 2000 thing, the
2012.
2012?
2012, the world's
Oh, you're
gonna
talking
end.
about Y2J?
Not Y2K. And
Y2K,
if you look at the
right.
Jehovah Witness timeline, they always had false
The
prophets.
the Mayan calendar.
False prophets predicting the end of the world. And a lot of people got scared, sold their things and sold their stuff, possessions, and then they call it the Watchtower because they're watching when the world's going to end.
That's
You
the
know
name of the pamphlet they
And
be
I
handing
would
people.
and I will be careful.
Watchtower. That really is.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's what they watch.
That's-
They
yeah, it's
watch
called
for
the
end.
Watchtower.
They watch for that's what their job
Yeah.
was, to watch the
Wow.
signs of the end of. And I would be careful predicting. I want to say, so if I said no, then you're a false prophet. You know what I'm saying? And I will be careful on teetering with those misconceptions, because someone might be listening and be like, oh, Jim, and then when they feed you, then you have to give them more, and then it becomes lies, and then it's the whatever. So I wouldn't worry. It's just so useless just to worry about the ends of time, because we would never know. God has always said
It'll
you
happen
would-
when it happens.
You would never know.
Yeah, it's
And it's like a thief in the night. I think he said,
Yeah,
thief in the night. You know what I'm saying?
You have a question for your final question for David?
All right. So my final question for David is, how long has it been since you've been doing conspiracies and stuff like that?
That's a good question, bro.
He's like, I'm stumped.
Well, I mean,
That's
like, as a kid, I've always had a problem with authority. Always had an issue with it, and I've always questioned it. So as a kid, I always kind of had it built into me, but really what made me start really getting into conspiracies was COVID. Getting saved and going through COVID, because I got saved right before COVID happened, and then COVID happened right after that, and then it was just like, I looked at the world just completely differently on so many different things. I realized that I was being lied to about so many different things in life, and I was being manipulated so easily. And once I came to that realization, then I couldn't not know if somebody was fucking me over. I had to figure out every type of, it sounds stupid, but in my brain, the only way to protect myself was to figure out what is every possible way that somebody can fuck you over, and how are they going to do it exactly.
I feel that.
And that's
feel
really
that.
what drove me into learning about conspiracies, was out of self-preservation.
Word.
And out of all those thoughts, has any of those worries came to fruition where something fucked you over, like physically, not just like has anything in your life from conspiracies or whatever, have anything ever affected you directly?
Yes. The COVID conspiracy had a direct effect on my life. I had to forcibly wear a mask or not be able to go to work. I had to be locked down in my home without my free will or choice. My father also passed away because of COVID. So I have got a lot of resentment towards people because of that. Another thing would be the conspiracies, like with crypto. Like, I got onto the hype train because it was like, oh, it was supposed to be this,
is
and
the
this,
new money.
and then I get screwed over because I
Nothing
believe.
happens.
Because I was under the assumption and fear, like, oh, you have to take all your money out, and like you have to put all your money in this, because like the banks and everything like that, they're gonna fuck you over. But like the people who were telling me that were actually fucking me
We're
over.
the ones fucking you over.
So I think you missed.
Sorry.
Has any conspiracy you saw it coming, and you was able to dodge the bullet?
Dodge the bullet.
Yeah. Like, has
Oh,
anything
okay.
come into you, like not the past, like not something that has happened? Like, have you ever been like, oh, this is happening, let me dodge?
No, I would have to say no, because
every conspiracy I've really delved into, it's so much bigger than me that even though I know it, there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah.
All I can really do is just
worry.
about it or educate. Now, there's small things I can do about them to position myself in a better stance, but at the end of the day, like,
Do they affect you, like, in your real timeline? Like, say you know Bill Gates, or how to have that knowledge of knowing this happened or whatever you think is happening, has it been able to affect your, besides your daily life of constantly worry, has it ever affect you personally? Like someone's coming in and about to arrest you and lock you up because you know this knowledge.
I would say that
Important.
it has definitely affected me mentally. Because one thing that's actually kind of interesting is, like, I started doing the illusion stuff last year. And when I first started doing it, it was really just like, I was just in grind mode.
Yeah.
Right? It was the first thing that I had built and worked on myself, that I had created, that had some type of success. So because of that, I got really excited about it and really pushed it to the limit and started researching really dark topics. And I didn't realize it until this year, but I've noticed that it's definitely affected me mentally in a negative way, because, and what I think it is like, I don't think it's healthy to constantly think of negative things.
Mm-hmm.
I think whatever you surround your thoughts with the most, it's like eating something. Like if you eat something healthy, your body's gonna feel good.
Feel good, yeah.
If you eat something unhealthy, your body's gonna. So I think that's the same thing with thoughts. Because the Bible even tells us, like, think about beautiful things, delight in thoughts, think about good things. You should ponder on these things. But like, I'm constantly spending so much time out of my day pondering and thinking about
things that you can't control. Really.
Can't control,
Okay.
and
So-
it messes with me.
Can I give you? If I would say something, I would say, if you can't control it, I wouldn't worry about it. Because if you do and you worry about it, none of that really affects your daily life. But yet these other people, like, I can't worry about what Jeff is doing if it doesn't affect me. I can't worry about what Jeff does if it can't affect me. You know what I'm saying? But if I constantly worry about something, it will drive you insane. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that if it doesn't literally, if it's not something like in your own physical realm, your own timeline, or your own present self affecting you, I wouldn't be going out looking for it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, with me, I just feel like, man, if you can just find the positives, you'll get way more. You'll feel happy. You find the good things that people are doing and highlight that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have a feeling of, because when you're, like you said, if you're in that mindset of negativity, you're gonna find negative. If all you see is negativity, you're gonna find negativity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you switch it and say maybe just take a break, like, you know what I'm saying, and just say, hey, let me find out who's the best people helping out the best. You know, the charities and the whatever there is. There might be a guy that there might be another Muhammad Gandhi out there just going crazy, driving the world into something good. You know what I'm saying? And you'll have that feeling, and you know what I'm saying, resonate with those people. You know, and hey, listen, I listen to your pod. I definitely listen to the one about the art stuff like that and the gore things that she was doing. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
I wouldn't want to keep. I don't even watch scary movies, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to see none of it. You know what I'm saying?
Get out of here.
Nah, we got to get you.
man. Yeah, bro.
I got a whole shelf, man.
Nah, bro.
Starting off from Get Out all the way to Chuck.
I be turned around, dog. I don't want to be saying nothing.
He's like, if it doesn't exist, I'm not gonna.
I would literally say in the most manliest way possible, I'm out.
Disappear.
I'm out. I'll be in the movie theaters. I won't even be hiding. I'm not even.
Sensation.
Out of here.
I won't be hiding nothing.
That's
bro.
awesome, man. That's awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you, David. You're a good, great.
Yeah,
good guy.
Nah, you guys
man,
are
this
awesome.
was fire,
No, this was
man.
fire.
Hey,
This
you
is-
know what, Jimmy? A couple of things I want to say.
Uh-huh.
Dude, this conversation, man, I really enjoyed it. There was a couple times where I got a little bit chippy with you, and I do apologize.
I don't mean to be chippy. I just get very passionate about certain things. And
I love that word, chippy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was chippy with you, Jeff.
So,
That's okay.
but I really enjoyed this conversation. That you really did help challenge me in a lot of different areas and a lot of different thinking. So I really appreciate you challenging me and helping me to think outside the box and think about things in ways that I never would have thought about unless talking to you.
That's fire.
And that last advice that you just gave me, like, I can't say anything like that. That's so true. Like, I really should learn to focus on how to focus on, like, the good things and the positive things in life, because there are good things out there.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and they should be the ones that get the light.
But the news only plays the bad.
Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about Jeff Dahmer and stuff like that and the crazy. Fuck them people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And listen, I like everything that you're saying too. And really, to be honest, bro, it was a very great challenge for me to not be that over. Like, I'm right and this and that. And it's like me letting you express your ideals and in return letting me express yours. I didn't say I'm right or anything like that. I just said, just show me.
This is how I interpret it.
Just show me, and this is how I interpret it. And if you can show me something different, I'm glad to know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like with me, I just say, just always challenge those facts. Just always make sure you go into detail about what's really going on, because that small, it's like anything, any direction. Like if you have a split second, that direction over time is way further.
It's gonna deviate.
The deviation,
insane, right?
You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you have to take time to make sure that it's correct, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love watching conspiracy as well, and doing all the other stuff, and I love to be challenged, because I don't know. I'm not all knowledge. I'm not saying I'm God. I want to know too. And it's just like,
that's what we're here for. Quest for knowledge.
That's what it is, That's
what we're here
Sir,
for, brother.
sir.
And I appreciate it.
For sure.
I appreciate you guys coming
Yeah,
on, man.
thank you
guys
so much,
That was
man.
amazing.
Bro, I'm just like mind blown.
Yeah. We're just
like, wow.
We're the moderators in this episode, man.
This was amazing, man.
This was amazing.
No,
man.
that's amazing.
That's like I can't wait to have.
And this is like a preview of like things to come. You know what I'm saying?
Like
Where it's
bigger
just like,
conversations in the.
we can have larger conversations, and we definitely love to have you guys on, especially as like our first. In
official mix.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing, bro.
100% be open to.
Shouts out to Jimmy. Shouts out to David, man. Y'all
sure.
really came through.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming out.
Y'all exceeded what
in the neck of the woods,
bruh. Came out in the middle of nowhere. But we got that Starlink though, baby.
Yeah, though.
We got that Starlink though, baby. What the hell?
It's installed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bro. Had to climb that hot ass attic, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my
Someone got stuck on the roof.
Got stuck on the roof. I had to climb out the attic and come help him get off the roof.
My ass could get up, but it couldn't get down.
Oh, that was crazy.
I'll just say that.
That was crazy,
No, you
bro.
got stuck up there.
Because I put the ladder too close to the gutter, so if I were to come off, it would flip back.
You know what it reminds me of? You ever seen that one meme, that one little reel, where they're like riding down the and they're in the boat, and jump, it goes down. They don't go down, and they're looking over there's a river or there's a lake, and there's like you can't see past the horizon. He's like, he's like, it does go down.
Oh, it do go down. It do go down. And then
so it's like, Jeff was like, yo, this ladder, I'm not going down. And he's like, yo, you can't go down. He's like, nah, bro. I ain't going down.
Man.
I'm trying to break some
That's crazy. I said, stay inside, knock on the ceiling, so I know where the cable is.
And I'm talking to him.
And then
I'm in the attic, I knock, and then I hear a voice come from the roof. I'm like, Jeff, where you at? I'm on the roof. I'm like, I thought I told your ass to stay down there. He's like, all right. I was like, all right, hurry up, come down, and just knock on the roof. I can't get down. I'm like, bruh, I'm in this hot, dark attic. I had to climb through all the AC vents and shit. I'm sweating. It's crazy, man. I had to come and save this man, hold the ladder right there so he could climb.
Because I put the ladder too close to the gutter, so I couldn't get down. So if I tried to get down, it would have fell back.
Oh, man.
Nah.
No chill.
That would have been disgusting, especially on the camera, too.
Boom. Oh, I'd have saved that footage. We'd have been rich.
The way they was just laughing at bro.
Yeah, for sure. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. All right, brother.
Guys,
take us home.
Thank you again for coming. And everybody,
For sure.
thank you again for joining us at the tabletop. Guys, if you want to catch and watch our ugly mugs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. We also have our YouTube channel, One Word Tabletop Topics, our Triple T's Clips channel, and our TikTok channel. So if you click on the link, it'll take you directly to the episodes. And of course, we have timestamps so you can navigate throughout. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Guys, thank you again. You got something for me?
For sure.
What's up?
Drop y'all links.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wait.
Drop
Y'all links.
bro. For sure.
All right, well.
Where can we find y'all at?
We're going to put your links in the description,
I think Instagram, I'm J_fitness239. TikTok is like Jimmie, Jimmie Robinson 90. And that's pretty much it.
That's what's up. How about you, sir?
The YouTube channel is Illusion or @IllusionDocs. Instagram, Illusion_Productions_. Same thing for the TikTok. You can also find us on True Social, Rumble, and Patreon as well.
Hey. So you did join Rumble.
I joined Rumble as backup for my videos.
Gotcha.
Because whenever you post a video on YouTube, it automatically posts a video on Rumble.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's all right.
I didn't know
If
that.
they delete my videos on YouTube,
It'll stay up on Rumble.
it's on Rumble.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice,
Awesome.
nice. That's fine.
Backup.
Guys, you have a good night, weekend, evening, and or day.
Thank you.
You